across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. Welcome along. Just gone 6 o'clock. This is, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. Yes, back from the big charity do in Newcastle. God, don't talk to me about trains. Thank you to Mark Dolan, who was on the show for the last couple of days. But we're on live and exclusive across the UK. And this show, I've told you again and again, it's about your views on the news of the day. Absolutely get to it. Loads today. I love what Christian's done this morning. 0344 499 1000 is your telephone number. You can send a voice note. Who wins the non-existent prize? Because we've got no budget of the first voice note of the day. No idea. 0344 499 1000. You text to 87222. In a minute, a legendary ex-Conservative government minister will review the papers in the only way that he knows how. What are you waking up to? Cut the music. This is great. It's like pennies from heaven. Don't know if you've seen this video yesterday. A heckler. Old Rachel, she repaired to a, I don't know where it was, a petrol station somewhere in Leeds, I think, or near a constituency, to announce this government's planned 5p hike in fuel duty was not going to happen. So that's the 1,393rd U-turn since they took power. And there she was in a lime green suit, just standing there saying to the people, I'm listening. We're not going to do this. We care about white van man. And then this happened, ladies and gentlemen.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
Keir Starmer Get Labour out. Get Keir Starmer out. Nigel Farage. Go on, Nigel. Look, they're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British. There's news about the freezing future.
It's quite interesting because that's not very British. So I thought, well, I didn't, Christian did. What is British when you bear in mind this Labour Party? Let's be honest, this government, what would you call British? We can't fly our flag, we can't control our borders, we've got no army, you can't go to the hospital, you can't see a doctor, you can't see a dentist. This country's on its backside and she goes on about being British. So, 87222, what does being British mean? Can we throw that? What is British to you, team? It's 6:05. Also, a regular to this show who will be on later, extraordinary yesterday at Prime Minister's Question Time, Carl Turner, the man that was brave enough to stand up to Starmer and his government about jury trials, I would say took down the Prime Minister yesterday. He'd been very honest to us on the show, and it came out yesterday in public. He had some problems with mental health a couple of years ago due to a family situation. And when he decided to criticise the government over several things, they decided publicly to criticise his mental health. Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds has told him to never contact him again because Carl decided to publish some text messages that he received. And it will leave you in no doubt how appalling government officials can be if you dare to stand up to the machinations. 0344 499 1000. Serious question here. The jury in the Manchester Airport assault trial have been discharged after failing to reach a verdict. Mohammed Fahiz Amaz and Mohammed Ahmad denied assaulting a Greater Manchester PC Zachary Marsden. That was back in July 24. We must stress that this case is active, OK? And another retrial could be called. So we have to report it, as I've always been honest, very straight. But the jury failed to reach a verdict. Make that of what you will. 0344 499 1000. And apparently this is a victory for common sense, which means a victory for talk. Education Secretary Bridget Phillips, I'm going to read this straight so you don't accuse me, today is expected to confirm that trans women must be barred from female toilets, changing facilities and sports teams to protect single-sex spaces. The guidance, of course, follows last year's Supreme Court judgment that trans women who were born male are not legally women, which in the world of common sense would make sense. Now, lots of people get up and down about the trans debate, and I will stick to the same thing I've said forever, OK? I don't want my 15-year-old teenage daughter to be changing in a changing room and a man with a penis whether he's got a dress on or not, to start undressing. That is where I come from. Plus, we will add in the mix, there's a heat wave on the way. It's going to be 30 degrees over the bank holiday weekend, and then everybody will go, oh, it's too hot. We say a very good morning to a man who, really is very hot. That didn't sound right, did it?
Jeremy.
Steve Baker. I didn't, yes. Sweaty. Former government minister, Conservative. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, thank you. Yes, thank you for that incredible introduction.
Jeez. The Rachel Reeves.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? You're saying what's British? Well, heckling must be British. Being common sense must be British. Yeah. Putting up with no nonsense must be British. Heckling politicians is a very fine British tradition. And to a credit, actually, it was a good response off the cuff, although it does open up that question, what is British? But I think what it really points to is that that's the home of common sense, isn't it, in that white van? They are useless. They are ruining the country.
I don't know if it came through, but what really infuriated him was he said, I've got flags. He's got the Union Jack flag on his van. Are you going to arrest me? Those are the sorts of things that matter to people.
Well, and that's how people feel, isn't it? That if they display their identity, and it's so toxic. When people's identity feels under threat, that just causes them, of course, to double down on their identity. As a Minister of State in Northern Ireland, I saw it all the time.
Did you get heckled lots?
Not especially, no. I mean, over Gaza I got, pursued in the street, which was quite worrying on one occasion, but occasionally you get heckled. But the best thing to do is just go and engage with people. I mean, the drive-by heckle is obviously quite difficult to respond to, but if you've been heckled in the street, just go and talk to people, and usually they calm down and just talk to you.
Mike and Croydon straight away. The irony of Reeves using the term, it's not very British. They've destroyed what being British might have meant by insisting British people are far right or racist. Looking out the train window, I can confirm, though, that British weather is crap.
Well, that's true. Moaning about the weather is definitely very British.
That heat wave, how do you feel about a heat? Are you one of those people who go, oh, it's too hot? Because the trains now will stop because, the lines will bend in the heat or something, won't they?
We're not very good at it, are we?
No.
Hot and cold, but... I prefer it cool.
Pete, good morning. Reeves freezes fuel duty like she's doing us a bleeding favour when the price of fuel has already been raking them in loads of tax. I mean, you said to me off air, they were always going to U-turn on this. Absolutely ludicrous.
The public can't bear tax at these levels. I mean, more than half the cost of I've forgotten the figures exactly now, but I think it's more than half of the cost when you fill up is tax.
Yeah.
There's VAT on the fuel duty. It's amazing there aren't riots, really, over
I don't understand how we manage to screw drivers so spectacularly in this country. And don't get me on my favourite subject, cyclists. I mean, what drivers have to pay, whether it's congestion charge, fuel duty, road tax, national insurance. It's ludicrous, man. People have phoned this show in the past and gone, can't even afford to drive my car to work, and I need my work.
Well, the next thing will be road charging because of electric vehicles not paying fuel duty, and the Treasury can't afford it, so we'll have road pricing. And that's not the... if one wanted road pricing to try and affect congestion, that's not the reason to do it. But
in my mind, I have a very strong opinion about Rachel Reeves. You're probably far more straight down the line. What do you make her in terms of competence, genuinely?
Oh, incompetent. She doesn't know what she's doing. But, anyone in the Labour Party is going to come up with the wrong answer on economics.
Yeah.
They're going to support policies which make us all poorer. I mean, the art of economics is to see the long-run consequences of your policy on everybody, not just the short run on a particular group. So things like having a freeze on supermarket prices sounds lovely. None of us want supermarket food prices to go up. But the experience around the world always is if you freeze prices, you get shortages, because of course you do. For your listeners, they know that when they go to work, they'd like to be paid for going to work. They're not going to pay their employer for turning up. But that's effectively what you say to farmers if you suppress the price below the cost of production.
I completely agree. My problem is I can't believe the lack of quality in roles that for me are central to our well-being. The Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah.
The Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary wants to scrap jury trials. Lammy taken down.
Yeah.
And I'm not being rude, just incompetent. It doesn't matter what party they're from, totally incompetent.
Well, there are some exceptions, of course. So, if you look at Andrew Griffith on the Conservative benches, Shadow Secretary of State for Business, he's a former Chief Financial Officer of Sky. Now, you might not like Sky here.
I haven't said a word.
But he's a serious guy
I know,
with
Andrew.
really serious business experience, and he's a great standout example of real quality. But it is true that...
But that's what Reform pitched their thing at. People who have run businesses, made businesses, done a job away from that.
Well,
somebody was saying to me yesterday, the thing about, if you look at that Labour Party, you've gone from college, university to students' union to SPAD to think tank to Fabian Society.
you know
None of them have grafted in the real world like alarm clock Brits, have they?
Yeah, it's absolutely a serious problem, but you know what the answer to it is, and your listeners won't like it?
What?
It's a democracy. Join the political party of your choice. Turn up to the selection meeting and say you're not good enough.
Quite right.
And it is up to us.
Pete wins the award, 6:12. Morning, Pete.
Good morning, Jezza. Oh, that outside broadcast that Rachel Reeves, Richard III, Gwendolyn from Wallace and Gromit did yesterday was absolutely priceless. Get that bloke on your show. You must get him on there. You know, she deserved everything she got there. And you know what? If she had any good manners herself, she'd have the good manners to resign, wouldn't she? And get her boss Keir Starmer to resign as well, to take them all with them. The bloody lot of them need to go. Have a nice day, Jez.
Thank you very much indeed. So this is an amazing clip yesterday from Rachel Reeves, who at the front, I noticed, I heard Sun readers over the fuel duty, says Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
Fair play to the Sun. What an amazing piece of work. I mean, the huge win for them. Their campaign against the fuel hike reversed yesterday. But like Rachel Reeves has read or even listened to the Sun. We all know what they think. Can I just... I love this. She's obviously... I haven't seen or heard anything from Rachel Reeves for months. Now, I would respectfully suggest, and I could be totally wrong, that these raft of comments and appearances and so could be something to do with the fact that she thinks her boss is for the bin and she'd like to give somebody the impression that she's competent enough to do the job, i.e. Andy Burnham, who we'll talk about in a minute.
It's absolutely in her interest to let everybody know that the bond markets would prefer that she stayed in place. And actually, that is one of the things about bond markets.
Listen to this.
They like continuity.
Isn't it true that they're so appallingly talented that she's probably the best option for the Labour Party?
Well, that could be true, I'm afraid, and that is often the case. I mean, I've said it before that Starmer could well turn out to be the best they've got.
Wow. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Now, on the back of that clip, she thought that she'd also try and garner some publicity and some popularity.
Yeah.
Yesterday, this is terrible, Rachel Reeves did her first ever TikTok.
Oh, no.
Baker's gone, oh no.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen this, but I know how good Christian is at finding them. Rachel Reeves on TikTok, take it away.
Hi TikTok, I want you to be the first to know that this summer for kids aged between 5 and 15 there's going to be free bus travel in England, and this is just one of the things that we are doing to help people with the cost of living in these uncertain times.
It could be worse.
Two things, without being cynical. Free bus travel for children, right? How many children pay a bus for? Honestly, I don't mean to be rude. And cheaper chocolate and biscuits. Well, that's a really good, ruddy, impressive diet, isn't it? What is wrong with these people?
Bread and circuses. I mean, honestly, the next thing we'll be complaining about childhood obesity, yeah.
Hold on a second, and it's all thanks to the UK's Brexit freedoms, to be honest, isn't it? That she can cut tariffs on chocolate, if we're being absolutely honest. True or false?
It would be nice. It would be nice, yeah, if they admitted some of these things. But
she is so incompetent. Kitty, good morning.
Her behaviour towards the van man was absolutely disgusting, derogatory and sneering and typical of Labour and the far left. And she only shouted her snarky comment when she knew he had left and was out of hearing. So she is just disgusting. Everything about her is wrong, and everything that is wrong in this country is her fault, her government's fault, and not the fault of Iran.
Let me just say, if you are White Van Man, I'm going to play it again in a minute. If you are that guy that gave it out to Rachel Reeves and you're listening to the Home of Common Sense, we want to get you on. So if anybody knows who this bloke is, we've been looking and trying overnight. We can't find him. But basically he was saying, you've ruined this country. I'm not allowed to fly my flag. You U-turn more time. I've got to play it again. I'm sorry, it's just brilliant. You don't mind, Steve,
no,
do you?
Of course.
Yesterday, Rachel Reeves went to Leeds, brave, and she went to a petrol station to say, we've listened to the Sun and we are cutting fuel duty. And then she met a hard-working alarm clock Brit who gave it to her with both barrels.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
Keir Starmer Come on, Labour out there. Get Labour out. Get Keir Starmer out. Nigel Farage. You are Nigel. Look, they're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party's useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British. So you know the news about the freezing fugitive.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Good manners, right. What is British, peeps? 87222. What is British? Damon from Wigan. There's nothing to be British for anymore because UK governments are seemingly beating it out of us. I'm an army veteran and I can't believe how this bloody country has gone these days and how very little authority the British people seem to have in their own country. Good morning to Chris. Labour is now the party of the non-working classes. That's where their votes lie. The real working class people like myself would never vote for them again. With the amount of people now on benefits, working people must be in the minority. That's interesting, Steve, because that's white fat. That is genuinely what people feel, and I understand that.
Yeah, so net recipients of government funding is now more than half the population, if I recall correctly. I'll have to go and fact-check that myself in a minute. But, yeah, it's a pretty serious situation we've got to. But we cannot all live at everybody else's expense. I mean, of course you can't. It's like taxing yourself, trying to lift yourself into prosperity by standing in a bucket and lifting it up. It can't go on. It will stop. The question is how it stops. To be honest, I listen to your listeners coming in with voice notes. I think, thank goodness, there is still common sense in this country. But
there is.
People are fed up with being told what to think, aren't they?
I think so, and I mean, I know we have this conversation regularly, but I do it for a reason. I think we were away at this charity do, and so I won't go into detail. This guy decided to attack my views, which is absolutely fine. I like democracy. I love all that. The fear that you see in the eyes of people who have just gone through their lives for years and seem to believe that there can't be change or the silent majority cannot have a voice is so obvious to me. So bloody obvious that there is genuine fear. They'll call it populism, nationalism, they'll call it divisive, they'll call it extremism, whether we're talking the Greens or we're talking reform or whatever we're talking, right? But the truth of the matter is, I think that too many politicians in this country underestimate the British people, who I think were switched off from politics for a long time, expense scandal and all of that. But I think the word, and we do it every time we speak, but it's important, is fairness. The F word. And so many people in this country, in fact millions, feel that they're being treated unfairly. And I would say to all politicians of all parties, ignore that at your bleeding peril, because that is really front and centre to me right now.
Well, yeah, what is justice? So I'm afraid people in the Labour Party very often think, and I don't like to say it, feels uncomfortable to say it, they like sometimes to hold back white people in order to, try to solve perceived historic injustices, but the result of that is you end up with a young man of my acquaintance not being able to get his internship with an arm of the state because he's white, and of course that leads to burning injustice, and then that manifests itself, and then people double down, and this nonsense has got to stop. We've got to treat people equally.
I completely agree, and you look at how somebody tries to go for a job nowadays, you look at I have never been, right? Everybody should get a good, fair crack of the whip, but you cannot have a brain cell in your head unless you look and go, it's gone the other way. It's gone to a point where hard-working, normal, down-to-earth people are going, hold on a minute, have I done something wrong here?
Well, we're old enough to remember the loony left at the GLC, I expect,
absolutely.
the Greater London Council.
Old Ken Livingstone.
And there were plenty of daft ideas which were considered beyond the fringe when we were young, and now they're mainstream for politicians in the House of Commons, and that's one of the crazy things. But, of course, all of that madness that infects university campuses completely passes working people by, and I think that's one of the origins of this huge disconnect between Labour and their traditional voters, is that they're graduates of daft universities with incredible ideas that normal people don't believe in, and of course they've now separated from their own voters. Of course they have.
What normal everyday people want is lower taxation and the ability to actually have a couple of quid at the end of the week to buy a pint, not being skint and looking at everybody else getting treated better.
Absolutely,
What is being British to Steve Baker? He's heard old Rachel Reeves going, it's not very British. Good manners are British. I know I'm messing your lives up, but that's not very British. What's British to you?
No nonsense, live and let live, standing up for our country, not being afraid to love our country, but not being aggressive about it.
Good idea. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Jez. I'm guessing it could be said that being British is about tolerance and forgiveness.
Absolutely, yeah, I like tolerance.
And unfortunately, I can neither tolerate nor forgive this government for what it's done to my country.
People have forgotten what tolerance is. Tolerance is live and let live. Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree.
A democracy.
It's not that we all have to agree on the same nonsense that the Labour Party's lunatics peddle.
This is... Sorry, Christian looks at me. This is why I argue with my 22-year-old daughter, right, from university, right? I can be polar opposites politically. That's fine. I welcome the fact you've got an opinion, but I will use until the last breath in my body to tell you that if you're entitled to your opinion, I am entitled to mine. And because I'm 60 and I differ to you, you're not going to cancel me, ban me, label me and tell me that everything that your grandparents taught me and I've tried to teach you is a pile of crap, whilst then asking me to pay your rent for the month on your flat. The reality is... No, I'm being serious. All kids do that. But the reality is... You're right, everybody, but the new modern view is you're all disgusting, homophobic, misogynistic, racist, right-wing bigots. No. We're talking common sense here.
My favourite Labour voter is my friend Professor Paul Dolan at the LSE. He and I were pushed together by COVID.
Yeah.
And
that didn't sound right.
Well, we were, because we were both deeply concerned about the effects of lockdowns and restrictions.
Oh, you didn't end up living together?
No, we became friends.
Okay,
and we took common positions against things like vaccine passports and so on. But anyway, Paul has written a book called Beliefism, How to Stop Hating the People We Disagree With, because what he discovered by working with me is suddenly people hated him because he was associated with a Brexiteer and so on. So he's written the book. It's a great book, and he and I worked together to try and get this out there, that actually right across our institutions, people have got to stop hating those they disagree with. Live and let live should be what we recapture. I think that would be a fundamentally British thing to do.
Couldn't agree more. 6:23, if you're waking up to the news that Rachel Reeves went to Leeds. There's the thing. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds, never mind. And she went to announce that they were not going to 5p hike the fuel duty. They were going to do another U-turn and everything was great. She got massively heckled by a white van man who said, "You're ruining the country. Keir Starmer's a no good, whatever," and she said, "It's very un-British, bad manners," as he flew his flag. He was brilliant. 0344 499 1000. Carl Turner, we'll talk about him after this break. Laura to it, though. Morning, Laura.
Morning, Jeremy. Laura in Wiltshire. Great to have you back. As far as I can tell, under this lousy government with their appalling policies, being British means being very much a second-class citizen. Bring on the next general election. We need it so badly. A new leader's not going to change things. We're just going to have to batten down the hatches between now and then. Have a great show.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk! Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air. Amelia Clark! Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1.
Exactly, that's true, yes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 6:27 Thursday morning. A very good morning to the home of common sense. You're with Alarm Clock Britain supporting Talk. Thank you for tuning in. 0344 499 1000. Loads of you getting involved. Rachel Reeves, I'm going to keep playing. I'm not playing it right now, but she basically went yesterday to Leeds to announce that the 5p hike in fuel duty. Well, we're not doing that anymore. We're U-turning because we care about white van man. We care about you. Even Starmer got in on the act and announced it in the back of a car. More of that later. Anyway, she got heckled within an inch of her life. Genuinely, this bloke went, Farage, let me fly my flag, 2-1, 0344 499 1000. Her response was, what awfully bad manners.
Yes.
How very un-British. Steve Baker's with me. Apparently this is the voice note of the decade. Rob, good morning.
Right, let's do it.
Morning, Jez. Great show as always. Rob, on the way to work. She wants to know what being British is about. I'll tell you what being British is about. It's all them blokes who stood on beaches 80 years ago, mate, stopping people invading this country and fighting for everything they love for. Only a generation or two later to watch her and her ilk give this country away to people. Is that British? No. Watching veterans sleep in shop doorways while illegal immigrants get given 4-star hotels. Is that British? No. Watching girls get raped on a production line. Is that British? No. I could go on all day, but I don't want to because now I'm getting pretty angry. Labour, out!
Yeah,
Well, he's right, isn't he?
you know, I would know people who would say that's a rant of a man who doesn't understand. To me, that is absolutely spot on, and how millions of people feel in this country, and however they are labelled, and however people want to throw that up. That's the reality, Steve Baker, for millions of people.
And he's right, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, I can feel, I feel my blood rising listening to his blood rising.
But he's dead right. Veterans
dead
on the
right.
streets.
Yeah, I'm ex-forces, and it's absolutely heartbreaking when it happens that veterans are on the street. And it does appear, and we need a proper investigation into it, that in some parts of the country people got a pass because they were of a different colour. And that cannot go. The law applies absolutely equally to everyone. Zero tolerance is the only policy on child abuse.
I completely agree. You know, I had this conversation. I mean, one of the most disgusting things, and I'm going to include the Conservative government in this, I cannot, the grooming gangs, rape gangs inquiry, the dragging of feet over this, it, to me, is one of the biggest stains ever on this country.
So I've got to be careful talking about this, because when men were arrested, they were acquitted. They were acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came up in Wickham that there were going to be arrests, and I worked closely with the police to try and manage and make sure we didn't end up with undue community tensions, but it was absolutely down the line that what mattered was the victims.
Yes,
and that
absolutely.
the law applied equally to all. But I'll tell you the thing I learned there. Of course, yes, the police are operationally independent, but the thing I learned in that moment, that period, was that the police really do care how their politicians react. They do. They care very much about whether they'll have political support for doing the thing they need to do.
Well, that's not victim first, is it?
Well, so that's the thing I've learned, is that if you lived in an area of the country where the politicians wouldn't stand with the police as they went after criminals, whoever they may be, then suddenly you've got a problem with getting equal application of justice. So I do think this might be a regional problem where some politicians just wouldn't stand with the police while they did the right thing.
I can pull it out if I want, but months ago I interviewed the boss of the police up in where it started, around the Rochdale area. And he said to me, I said, why has it taken you 8 years? And it stuck with me forevermore. He went, well, the thing is, you know, if we'd been a little bit more prevalent and a bit quicker, it would have caused racial tension. I'm going to say it now.
Just go for it.
I'm not
go
bothered,
for the crime.
and I want to make this point. It's a point here. I said this to one of those leftists the other day. I don't care the colour of your skin. I don't care where you come from.
Yeah.
I don't care. If anybody thinks it's okay to rape an 8-year-old girl, whether she's from a privileged or underprivileged background, I don't want you in my society. And when I pointed out in Rotherham that 83%, that's a fact, of these British Pakistani men, I'm not saying. I remember a lefty saying to me, straight to my face, he said to me, white men rape children as well. And I went, that is not an answer.
No,
I don't want any people. Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. But do you know, I double-checked. The law in Kashmir is death or castration. for people who rape children. Now, I'm not
Good
proposing,
morning.
yeah, I'm not proposing we introduce that in the UK, but I just would observe, so having represented a community that was 20% overwhelmingly Asian, which overwhelmingly meant British Kashmiris, I want to reassure your listeners that the vast majority of British Muslims, British Asians, British Kashmiris are united with everybody else in condemning these disgusting crimes.
Couldn't agree more.
And
why didn't your government go ahead with... A genuine question. Why didn't the Tory government in 14 years just get on with this and have a rape gang national inquiry?
I honestly don't know. And I wish I did know. What I do know is where I was responsible in Wickham, I stood with the police and the police went after the criminals. As I say, got to be careful because they were acquitted. But I don't know.
I just think it's a stain. No, not on you. I mean, not on you personally, but I just think
it's a stain on the whole nation. I so get wound up by politicians who don't firmly grasp the principles of a free society, like the rule of law means the law applies equally to everyone.
Should do.
And politicians somehow get their grasp of these things becomes flimsy because they're worried about votes. And no, actually, these principles are long established. They're more important than any one of us. They will outlive any one of us, and politicians should get a grip. Zero tolerance, equal application of the law.
Sorry, I'm completely agree with all of that. 25/7. Nobody now, of course, will get away from Rachel Reeves. So if you are waking up to talk breakfast, there's lots to talk about today, but basically what centred yesterday was, and I've got a poem. This is brilliant. Martin Tweedle. No. Dundee. No, we're not doing it. Martin Tweedle. Morning, Jez. Here's a poem. Rachel Reeves went up to Leeds to talk about discounted petrol. Out came a man with a flagged-up white van and gave her a jolly good heckle. Brilliant.
That is very good.
This was Rachel Reeves, Richard III yesterday, up to Leeds. We're not going to do far pee on fuel duty. We'll listen to people. Everything's fine. And she was ripped. Well, anyway, have a watch. Have a listen.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
Keir Starmer Get Labour out. Get Keir Starmer out. Nigel Farage. You are Nigel. Look, they're going to get arrested. They've got English flags on here, Rachel. They're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British. The news about the freezing future.
Yeah.
Morning, Jez. Give that white van man a knighthood, says Diane from Bedford. He said what common sense, hard-working people are thinking every day. He should have played a hysterical laughter after he'd driven off. Shocking Chancellor, shocking government. Jason's in Portsmouth. Morning, Jace. Geez, she wouldn't recognise what being British was if a Union Jack wearing British bulldog named Winston jumped up and bit her on the arse, whistling Rule Britannia. There's a thought.
Do you know, I really hope that Labour advisors and people in Number 10 are watching this and listening, hearing your listeners. Because when I listen to Wes Streeting demonising reform, and then you listen to the public who want common sense back, it's a very dangerous path for Labour to go down, to be demonising British people.
It's very interesting to... And this isn't just pro-reform, but reform have based themselves on, broken Britain and dealing with the immigration problem and giving Britain, I guess, back to the British people. And they've been called divisive and nationalistic and populist and all those things. But do you want to know something? I cannot understand politically how SPADs or advisors or even officials higher up have not actually tapped whoever on the shoulder and gone, you do realise millions of people in this country you're trying to govern actually are with this, don't you? Frustration.
Groupthink is a terrible phenomenon, and people tell one another they're right in groups and then condemn everybody else, and it's psychologically hardwired. I think that's what happens in these daft Labour circles. They tell one another they're right and end up ignoring the people who are rightly furious, as they call you. And it is dangerous.
Morning, JK. Richard III, called herself British. Does that make her far right? Because that's what you get called if you're British nowadays, says Dave in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. This is interesting. Jez, my wife Michelle is a community nurse, pays tax on the fuel she uses for work, VAT on the fuel she uses for work, then tax on the allowances she gets to help compensate her expenses. Dean in Suffolk, who just says this whole situation is utterly ludicrous. Pete says... Reeves will give out free chocolate and then wonder why kids will be without a dentist who can't see a dentist will end up with rotten teeth. Isn't that true? Yesterday she said free buses for children and free chocolate, but you can't see a dentist. But I'll tell you who can see a dentist. This isn't me being unfair. Do you know who can see a dentist like that? An illegal migrant.
Oh, well, yes.
True or false?
I don't know. Is it
24 hours after they arrive in this country, a GP and a dentist sorted.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's some international law obligation to do it.
Sorry?
I wouldn't be surprised if international law obliges them.
See, it's too early and I'm going to get wound up. Well, what international law says to the British people who are paying tax, you can see a bloody dentist too.
Yeah, well, I know people have been reacting furiously, but this is why we end up that we've got to leave the ECHR. Now, for years, the convention rights themselves, this is another classic, the convention rights themselves are a sensible response to the totalitarianism of the Second World War.
Yes.
Of course they are. But then, of course, the judges have overinterpreted it all. And I expect that daft rulings like that end up, following on from judges being too activist when they interpret these conventions. And lefties going beyond the bounds of what is common sense is a curse on our age, I'm afraid.
I could not agree more. Mark and Selby, Jez, how delicious that Rachel getting her chops yesterday and a new catchphrase, it's not very British. What is not very British, Rach, is unfairness, changing our culture and putting our women and children at risk through mass illegal immigration, never mind net zero. No Labour MP will want to be doing pieces to camera in public in future. Shane, good morning.
Morning, Jazz, Shane and Bournemouth. You got to admit, mate, that guy in the white van, he's absolutely right. And for Rachel Reeves to turn around to say that what he was doing was not very British, what he was doing was actually extremely British. He was speaking his mind and telling it how it is. That's how we are supposed to be. Nah, fair play to the bloke. I think he did a brilliant job. And if I was there, I'd have done exactly the same. Anyway, have a good morning, mate.
Lovely. We're asking you on the back of Rachel Reeves going, it's not very British. Shouting at me and heckling me. It's not very British. I don't know where that impression's come from. What is British? Jess, being British is about being fair, which is something that is no longer seen to be the case in Great Britain anymore. Everyone has a group that they think they deserve more than everyone else. Bring back good old British fair play.
Absolutely,
says Dawn in Wales. Hear, hear, Dawny. Valerie's in Norfolk. Do you know a song named after her? Valerie! Never mind.
I can't sing.
Jed, can you not sing?
No,
can you dance?
Only with you, Jeremy.
Wow, it's getting wrong. Someone should tell that dreadful bloody woman in charge of our finances it's not British for her and the rest of Labour cabinet to take freebies. I'm British and I'm increasingly ashamed of this country. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is from Jay. I think that guy was pretty tame compared to what other people would want to say to her. If it had been me, I would have been asked her why she thinks it's acceptable to give more money to people on benefits and not help me and the other working class people keeping her stupid economy propped up.
Yeah.
No, you can't believe the last line. She's a complete moron who needs to wash her hair, is what she said.
Oh, well, I wouldn't like to comment on that.
No. Wow. And Roger from Wales, just to finish off, says, I think we should give her some credit. At least she didn't burst into tears.
Do you know, to be fair to her, being a minister and being an MP can be extremely stressful.
You want the job, mate, deal with it.
You can't, yeah, exactly.
I'm being serious.
Yeah,
I have no sympathy for her at all.
Yeah, well, even when I was suffering from depression, you didn't find me in distress in the House of Commons. You just got to put a brave face on it and crack on.
I want to talk about that after this break, because, and I meant to do it this time, but it always goes madly busy. I'm just going to pitch this up. Carl Turner, who's a regular on this show and here after 9 o'clock, yesterday took down Starmer at PMQs. Because he accused Number 10, which I knew about because he was on the show, of briefing against him due to his mental health. We'll do that with Steve Baker after this break. We're coming back.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 17 minutes to 7. So if you are waking up, the big news story of the day is that Labour Party have decided to scrap the planned 5p hike in fuel duty. We've already heard how Rachel went off to Leeds yesterday and got abused by White Van Man. We're actually getting nearer because I want to find out who he is. I think we've got a friend of a friend next. But before that, even Starmer's joining in. He thought it would be a good idea to announce this 5p scrapping fuel hike tax thingamajig. Where do you think he did that from? Cynically in the back of a car. Have a watch. Here we go.
Fuel duty will not rise this year. We all know that the conflict in the Middle East, in Iran, is not our conflict. We're not involved in it, but we have to protect people here in the UK from the impact. Every driver knows the impact it's having on petrol prices, prices at the pump, and that's why the measures we're taking to freeze fuel duty will make a difference, because we must protect people in this.
You should see me and Steve Baker, journalists to the court. We're going, we've got him, no seatbelt.
Rishi made this mistake and got in trouble for it.
Christian says it's under the tie.
I don't see it there under the tie. I was just looking really closely for it.
The way he's holding on to the side, it looks like he's in a prison van, just being transported.
Just for Chagos, he should be.
Yeah, that's true. That's not British. Liam, good morning.
I know a lad who works with the lad who gave Rachel Reeves both barrels yesterday, so I've sent him a message. Hopefully he can get him on. But let's face it, all he's doing is saying what everybody else is thinking. Look at every time a Labour politician goes out anywhere, it's like they can't even be in public. If that's not resonating with them, of how much they're hated as a party, and to be fair, I don't mean to single people out, but as individuals as well. And I think the working class take it a bit to heart even more, because obviously we're classed as bottom of the barrel to them, but they were for us. They were for the working man and woman. That's what the Labour Party was all about.
I think that's a really interesting point.
He's made me well up hearing him say bottom of the barrel, and that's how he's being made to feel. That's disgraceful, and that's real. That's not like a game, is it? That man's been made to feel like he's bottom of the barrel. That is bloody terrible.
Let's just do a couple of things quickly. I must go to Kinsey in a minute. Can we just talk about this food thing? You'd be much better on this. Don't cap food prices, screams the Daily Telegraph. Bank warns Reeves, front of the Times. Yeah. Bank chief joins attack on freezing food prices. What's the idea behind that, then? Lots
of things in politics sound like a good idea in the short run. So rent controls, capping food prices. We all want lower rent. We all want lower food prices. But what politicians and economists ought to ask is, and then what? If you force down the prices of food, you get less food. If you force down the prices of rent, you'll get fewer houses on the market. The way to get food prices down, the way to get rent down, is to produce more food and to produce more houses available for rent and indeed purchase. And what that means is more freedom. And what everybody needs to do is just pause and think, and then what? But if they suppress the price of food below the price at which it can be produced, people will stop producing it. It's like asking somebody to go to work but pay their employer. You wouldn't do that, would you?
Completely.
And it's the same with price controls. If you suppress the price, people will say, well, I can't produce bread for that price, I'll have to stop. You can't expect people to put themselves into bankruptcy to produce bread.
Why not just make the economy grow, business be more successful and do it that way?
I know you're a bit younger than me, but you and I are old enough to remember.
How old are you?
55 shortly.
Do you not know how old I am?
I'm joking, aren't I?
Oh. Fell for that one, didn't I?
You did.
I absolutely fell for that. All right, Baker, you're getting good at this, aren't you?
You're going to get me back later.
Wow.
But the point is that we're old enough to remember how people from the old Soviet Union reacted when they came to our supermarkets and saw shelves absolutely awash with every kind and variety of food, because you didn't get that in the planned economies of Eastern Europe.
Completely.
Why didn't you? Because they had planning and price controls and all the rest of it. And the farmers just couldn't produce the goods. We have full supermarkets and plenty of them because we have a reasonably free market in food.
Good man. I've been trolling this all morning and I need to get it on. Carl Turner, good friend of the show's, I think a very brave politician who stood up against the Labour Party about banning jury trials, came on this show a couple of months ago, and said, I fell out with Number 10 because a couple of years ago there was a personal matter in my family. I had some mental health problems. I told Number 10 and they used it against me when I dared to stand up to them. Yes, they took down Keir Starmer at PMQs due to the fact that Number 10 had briefed about his mental health. Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds had told the suspended Labour MP to never contact him again. We've got the text. It says, from Reynolds, it says, "As this is my personal number, I want to make clear you do not have permission to contact me on it ever again. Any inquiries you have about your status as an independent MP can be via email to the Whip's office. If you do not respect this, I will block your number."
Well, he should have just blocked him if he didn't want to hear from him again. But, I mean, it's not the way to treat anyone.
I want to play this clip because I'm a big fan of Carl's, and you're going to talk about mental health as well, but it's disgusting how they've smeared him. Have a watch, guys. Have a watch.
I received hostile briefings and smears about my mental health from the lads in Number 10 Downing Street. The Chief Whip's shaking his head, but he knows about it, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister knows that my nephew Matty took his own life as a result of work-related stress as a young criminal lawyer. So during Mental Health Awareness Week, while ministers spoke with compassion about health and well-being, did the Prime Minister reflect on those hostile, discriminatory briefings which he knew about and he allowed to happen?
Well, can I thank him? And he has told me previously about Matty and the impact that had on him. I totally understand that. And I want to be absolutely clear that nobody should be smeared in relation to mental health. Nobody on any issue, whatever they may argue on any other issue. Nobody. And I will do everything I can to make sure that that is the position.
Here's the facts, Steve Baker. 20 minutes after that exchange, Jonathan Reynolds sent that text. So don't ever contact me again.
They've disgraced themselves, haven't they, to brief against him over his mental health. They've disgraced themselves. And not only that, they've exposed the inauthenticity of people who stand up and break their heart for those with mental health issues. And then this is the treatment that's actually emerged. What did they think they were doing, briefing against him on this subject? I think it's worth remembering that mental ill health can kill. Mm-hmm. After I talked about my own struggles with depression, which I did partly to help others, I had multiple people come up to me, and some of them would look completely normal, and they say, "You Steve Baker," you think, "Oh, how's this going to go?" And they say, "Yes," and you shake hands, you say hello, "You saved my life. I had this. You saved my life." Why? Because their knowledge that I could get through it meant that they knew they could get through it. And people forget this is what it's like wrestling with depression. Churchill wrestled with depression. No one should kid themselves that our society's free at any level of people suffering with anxiety and depression. People press through in their lives and cope, and it's serious. And if anyone's out there suffering, they should know that there's someone out there for them.
Absolutely.
And they can get support and they can get better. But for the Labour whips to have done this to Carl Turner, they have disgraced themselves, and rather than cutting him loose, they should be humbly apologising. They don't need to make a big thing of it and make it a song and dance and a political issue, but they should really be searching their consciences and saying, is this who we are? Is this how we want to treat people?
Couldn't agree more. Let's just shoot very quickly. Stevie, stay there. Don't go anywhere. Let's shoot very quickly to LA. I haven't spoken to her for ages. Works being the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered is obviously called Kinsey Schofield. Good morning, gorgeous.
I've traded you in for Harry Cole.
OK. I have no answer to that. He's more successful.
No.
More svelte-like? Not. Has more viewers? Not. But no, you take your pick. Why is that then? What does Harry Cole do that I don't do for you?
I'm just kidding, but I did see him in DC and he was so fun in real life. Oh, my gosh.
He's amazing in real life.
Yeah, he is, yes. But I do miss you.
The first time. The second time, not so much.
I get to see you in a few weeks, so...
I know, we're so excited. I needed to get you on very quickly, Kins, because we had a shocking announcement here in the UK that I only found out yesterday. Meghan Markle came back to the United Kingdom!
Blink and you'll miss her. That's right. She was on her way back from Switzerland. She was on her way back from Geneva after she gave that very low energy speech to no audience whatsoever regarding keeping your children off of social media.
Is that after she posted a photograph of her kids on social media? Yeah, that one, yeah?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And she had a stop in the UK. And the reason we know about this is because, like the narcissist that she is, she showed us the card that the crew hired to serve her presented her with. It was a very nice card that said happy anniversary, and she needed the world to know that she received this positive message from the British Airlines crew. And here we are today discussing her pit stop in the UK.
When you say pit stop, did they hold her in a detention centre? Did they put her in a 4-star hotel? Did she get a free mobile phone as other illegal people get? Where was she? In some VIP suite for an hour or so, was she?
I think that I think she might have just switched planes. I really don't know. Maybe it was just a temporary stop. I don't think there was much of.
Thank God she didn't come out of the building. Listen, the slew of loved up Instagram posts for the 8th wedding anniversary nearly made me sick, if I'm honest, between her and Harry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was a result of a few things. They have to continue to remind us of their proximity to the British royal family because that's really their only currency.
Yeah.
But I also think she is pushing back on some of the gossip over the last few weeks that her and Harry are living separate lives. So she needs to remind us that they're happily ever after, very much in love. But she also needs to remind us that they're royal because that is how she gets work.
Well, they're not royal and they're not happily in love and the marriage will end and I will stick my neck on the line and you cannot stand up and talk about social media if you put your kids on social media. She is duplicitous and she never, ever... You can just see through it all, can't you, Kins? The whole time.
I agree with you. And when Harry wrote, I think that this whole Starmer thing is incredibly fascinating. I feel like the countdown is on. But I also think that Harry writing the piece in the Statesman, the New Statesman.
Yeah.
The anti-Israel piece in that publication, I think Harry in the Ukraine, Harry has a relationship with Starmer's government, one that I don't necessarily understand what the benefit to the government is unless they really do hate the monarchy and they, are intrigued by the idea of Harry helping bring it down. But it's been reported that Yvette Cooper has been counseling Harry between Ukraine. I also think that she might have counseled him on this most recent piece. And it does feel like he's supporting the current government, which is falling to pieces. And why? Because he wants his security. Because Meghan and Harry want to visit the UK more often.
Whether the UK wants them to visit is another matter. But you're right. I don't want to bring in Steve Baker, actually, former government minister. This is wonderful, Kinsey Schofield. Steve, Yvette Cooper briefing Prince Harry. What's that all about? Would that be likely to happen? Government ministers talking to younger members of the royal family?
It's a bit strange, isn't it? I mean, His Majesty obviously he keeps abreast of events, but the royal family is separate from day-to-day politics. It's a bit extraordinary, yeah.
But you can imagine, Kins, you can imagine those two finding any angle without being cynical that they can find that will perhaps give them an in, and they fail every single time to understand the depth of anger in this country about what they've done, don't they?
Well, it's not only the depth of anger about what they've done, it's Harry getting political. As royals, you're not supposed to be political, pawns, and that's what Prince Harry seems to have become. He's getting way too political. When he was in the Ukraine days before King Charles met with Donald Trump to try to ease tensions, he challenged Trump and Putin. I mean, who is this guy? Why does Harry think he has the authority or the credibility to challenge either one of those world leaders? It's beyond me.
I just want to bring Steve in because he's sticking his hand up. You want to say something?
So Kinsey's absolutely right, and I think it imperils the monarchy to have royals being so political. I mean, His Majesty, when he speaks, when he gives a speech in the USA,
that was amazing.
It was amazing, and he delivered it brilliantly, and it was his speech. But he can only make that speech because ministers have cleared it. His Majesty only speaks as ministers.
Constitutional monarchy for all those people who every day say to me, "Can the king get rid of Starmer?" No, he can't.
If Kinsey's absolutely right, and if politicians, if the royal family start intervening in day-by-day politics, they'll be dragged into every division and it will imperil the monarchy. And I'm afraid this is just another area where I'm really disappointed in them. Harry and Meghan could have had an amazing opportunity to witness to this country at how at ease we are, and they didn't.
Guys, Kins, I missed you. When are you coming? Quickly, when are you coming?
2 weeks, I think.
I'm buying you dinner. No argument with you hanging out with Harry, Cole and all your friends and all the other channels. Come and see where it all started. Yeah? Just remember that.
Yes, sir.
Love the bones of you. Kinsey Schofield, Steve Baker. Thank you very much, Steve. The news at 7 is next on Talk Breakfast.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk! Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air. Amelia Clark!
Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1.
Exactly, that's true, yes.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome along or welcome back. It's what is it, Thursday morning? Just gone 7 o'clock. This is JK on Talk, the home, of course, of common sense, and where your views on the day's news are so important. 3 ways of contacting us. Get that number in your head, 0344 499 1000. You can call, you can send a voice note right now. You can text us as well, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. What are you waking up to? Well, as ever, my dear, loving alarm clock Brits, you're just focusing on one story. Yesterday, the government committed its 4,938th U-turn since it took power, where Rachel Reeves announced that the planned 5p hike in fuel duty was being scrapped. We've listened to the Sun, we've listened to the good people of Britain who are saying we're screwing them and we're doing our best. So she went to Leeds. Apparently that's where her constituency is. Rachel Reeves went down to Leeds. I'm not going there. Anyway, well, fill in the blanks if you want. So she goes to Leeds, to a petrol station, and she's standing there saying, I've listened. And then White Van Man, who I love. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, we're getting nearer to tracking this man down. Genuinely, we've got a number. I want him on the show. I think he should get a knighthood. He just drives past in his van surrounded with Union Jack flags and, in the politest way, rips our Rach a second. Well, have a listen. This is brilliant. Yesterday, Rachel Reeves and the heckler.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
Get Labour out. Get Keir Starmer out. Nigel Farage. You are Nigel. Look, they're going to get arrested. They've got English flags on here, Rachel. They're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British. The news about the freezing future.
2 things from that. Not very British. We'd love to hear from you this morning about what you think being British is. A government that doesn't control our borders, has no police, no defence. You can go into a shop and nick 200 quid. You can work your arse off, but people on benefits get more. That's not British, is it? But what do you think? What is British? 87222. The other thing is, as Christian just whispered, as he always does in my ear, what Labour advisor thought she wasn't going to be heckled at a petrol station in Leeds? Do these politicians actually ever get out and understand what it's like for real working class people? Morning, Dan.
Morning, Jezza. It's Dan from Kent. What's being British? Well, we love a queue, don't we? And because of the incompetence and actions of this Labour government, I'll tell you what queue's really long, that's the job centre. Can someone explain to me, like I was in my 5, how's buying oil from Russia, no matter how Starmer spins it, how does that work? If we're paying Russia for oil, financing their war, and we're paying Ukraine to defend their war against Russia, I'll be playing both sides. Great show.
Are we playing both sides? Probably, yeah, because we could, of course, just drill in the North Sea, couldn't we? Because we've got our own oil and save ourselves some money. You lot are brilliant this morning. Morning, Jez, great show. I thought it was British to exercise a right to free speech. That's what Keith Stalin told Trump. That's what White Van Man was exercising yesterday to Richard III. Oh, yes, I remember. We're not really allowed our right to free speech in case we criticise the government. See, that's a really interesting point. This is great as well. Hello to Paul in Crewe. The fuel duty freeze has already been paid for due to the increased price at the pump and all the duty on it, so it's just a gimmick to make it look as though they're helping with the cost of living crisis. Unfreeze the personal tax thresholds. That'd bring back fairness. That would make the economy grow. Keith from Wolverhampton, mate. The headline full price rise next. So it's not going up and it's not going down. So they're doing absolutely sod all, and she wants to be congratulated for doing absolutely jack whatever. Couldn't agree more. Here's a man who always gives it full authority. We love him, former government advisor in the tranquil countryside. Yes, he's got his shooting jacket on today. James Price, good morning, sir.
Hello, my friend. I'm going to do at some point in this conversation a chat about Rachel Reeves. I'll do my impression of her, but I'm just giving everybody fair warning, all right?
You're going to do, sorry, a bearded man in his late 30s. Is that right, age-wise, or early 30s?
Mid-30s, how dare you?
How old are you?
35.
Jeez,
I don't know that bad, do I?
I could be your dad as well. Mature ex-government advisor with beard, due to do impression of Richard III. On a serious note, yesterday, that heckler, who we're trying to track down, and we're getting nearer, he's absolutely spot on for hard-working Brits. He was worried he'd be arrested because of his flag. You're only bringing this down as a publicity stunt. You have done nothing for working people in this country. And they haven't, have they, Jay?
No, you're absolutely right. Starmer and Reeves had this idea. They said they weren't going to put up taxes on, quote, working people. And then they went to go and put up taxes on lots of working people. And they came up with some weird definition of working people. I can't remember what nonsense it was now, but it was just obviously complete rot. And then they started trotting out in the House of Commons. They talked about, quote, hard-working people in work, as opposed to apparently all the hard-working people not in work who lost their jobs because of the way that Labour have run the economy. And that every economic indicator that you could care to mention is getting worse and worse. There are some that Starmer will trot out to try and flatter to deceive. So I think he said yesterday the fastest growth in the G7, but that's partly because every other country in the G7 is doing very badly. It's actually got some of the worst growth. It's got the worst inflation. It's got the worst joblessness numbers. It's got the highest debt. And it's definitely got, in Britain now, the worst GDP per head, per capita, as economists would call it, because you bring in lots more people into the country and you don't actually get wealthier, everybody gets poorer as a result. And these things are all self-inflicted. Do you remember we talked a few weeks ago, Jez? I was reading a book from the 1970s and someone was saying, look, we're all struggling because we don't know how to get the economy going again. And then Mrs. Thatcher and Ronald Reagan came along and they showed without doubt that the way that you get economic growth is with policies that are more friendly to the free market, that give people economic freedom. So we've got the cheat codes now. We know how to do it.
Absolutely.
And these morons have gone and cocked everything up yet again. So I think the guy was incredibly restrained in what he said to her.
The thing is, the Labour Party wants state control, and business, countries, whatever, however you put it, success breeds not just freedom, but the ability to grow and make those decisions. And we know, if you look at socialist governments, they want to control the state. That's the way it is. You know what's happened, because you've come on. I just happened to say Rachel Reeves went to Leeds. Now, I'm absolutely inundated now. This so far is the best one. I'll have to leave the last bit out. This is from Graham and Steve in Eastbourne. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds where a white van man was blunt. He threw her spanners. She threw the spanners. She said, "What's your manners?" But let's be honest, Rachel Reeves is a bumbling idiot. Love the show. So there we go. That's by the way, you're a special advisor. Would you have said to her, seriously, go to Leeds, mate. Go to Leeds to a petrol station. It will be fantastic. Because I'm cynical. I think she's trying to impress old funny eyebrows in Makerfield, Andy Burnham. Because I haven't seen hide nor hair of Rachel Reeves for months. Have you?
No, I haven't actually. And I think you're exactly right. What did they think was going to happen? And this is the problem, right? Our system is supposed to be a system in which your Prime Minister 6.5 days a week, but on a Friday, even the Prime Minister, even the Chancellor, goes back to their constituency and has to sit in a kind of mouldy old gym hall or village hall or something and listen to the concerns of their constituents. Mrs. Miggins' wall has fallen in, helping somebody with a custody battle, helping someone who's scared about not being able to make ends meet, and so on. And it's meant to keep them grounded. Unfortunately, this happens so infrequently now, and they seem to dislike doing it, and they'll stay cosseted up either inside Parliament, which I notice every time I walk past, the walls get higher and the security gets thicker to defend the politicians against the consequences of their actions while the rest of us are left outside, or inside their government departments where they've got civil servants who are, I think, probably a little bit afraid to tell them the truth about these things. And then when they walk out, exactly as you say now, how can she be surprised to be treated like this? And the most embarrassing bit for me is her reaction, I've got to say, right? You can imagine in previous generations, politicians coming up with some kind of witty response, right? Or at the very least, I'll put him down as a maybe or something. Or Boris coming up with a funny line.
You won't be
I bet
voting.
Farage will come up with a
So
funny
you
line.
won't be voting for me, will you then? All right, mate, fair enough. We're different. But no, not her. But I wanted to ask you about this because she said, bad manners, that's not very English, bad manners. What's being British to you, Jay? You're a Brit, you're a patriot. What's being British to you mean?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that it's something that for most of our history you wouldn't really have to think about because it was sort of self-evident. Remember that old documentary series by Kenneth Clark called Civilization? He said, "What is civilization? I don't know, but I know it when I see it." Then you would get the sense of this, and I think we've had in recent decades a push by the left, and I think perhaps by the civil service as well, to talk about British values, which are of course very important, tolerance for the rule of law and all this sort of stuff, and respect and individualism and all these kind of dictionary definitions, which is fine, but it doesn't make it what's unique to these islands and our history. It goes much, much deeper than that, because being polite and well-mannered would equally well describe a Japanese person or a Canadian or someone from Connecticut or from the Midwest in America where Mrs. P is from. But that's not what necessarily makes you British. It's much deeper. It's quite hard to describe and to delineate.
You won't have heard this because you'll have been in makeup for an hour, but listen to this. This is quite potentially the greatest voice note I've ever heard from a guy called Rob. We played it an hour ago, and some people go, really? I think this is nailed on. Have a listen, everybody. Morning, Rob.
Morning, Jez. Great show as always. Rob on the way to work. She wants to know what being British is about. I'll tell you what being British is about. It's all them blokes who stood on beaches 80 years ago, mate, stopping people invading this country and fighting for everything they love for. Only a generation or two later to watch her and her ilk give this country away to people. Is that British? No. Watching veterans sleep in shop doorways while illegal immigrants get given 4-star hotels. Is that British? No. Watching girls get raped on a production line. Is that British? No. I could go on all day, but I don't want to because now I'm getting pretty angry. Labour out!
Nailed on. Sorry, absolutely nailed on. White van man, working class people, the hard alarm clock working Brits who feel it ain't fair anymore, they're not being listened to, and the very reason in my mind this show and this station exists. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely bang on. And you don't have to just use the example of the Second World War, but of every war that's gone on through our history, of people's desire to defend their home. And there was this sort of left-wing Marxist idea that people of the same economic class across borders would have much more in common because the proletariat would want to rise up against the evil masters and all the rest of it. And we've had from several wars of the 20th century that that's not true, and that people who are English or British or Welsh or Scottish and all of the above feel a deeper bond of kinship towards one another and towards our home than any economics would ever do. You can see just behind me, for those watching, there's a bust of a philosopher called Roger Scruton, and he had the fancy word for this of oikophilia, meaning a love of home, and that deep sense that this island, our island story, the glorious tradition that was given to us by all of our ancestors in the Second World War and the First World War and the Boer War and the Crimean War and the Napoleonic Wars and the 30 Years War and the 7 Years War and on and on and on, all the way back probably to well before the Conqueror, and even things as deep as our family formation. To get a bit nerdy here, you can see from old church records that even in going back to Saxon times, certainly Norman times, the way that our families were structured, English British people got married later, they moved into sort of small nuclear family units, they would move around for work, just like a lot of people do now, differently to the kind of clannish networks that you see in other parts of the world. And that's why when we've imported people from incredibly different alien cultures, they have not integrated very well at the scale they've done, because they have fundamentally different ways of looking at the world, of thinking about what is right and what is wrong. And a lot of that is religious based, but it's things like if you go to the parts of the Middle East and you say, well, I'm going to hire the best person for a job, they'll say, why don't you hire your cousin? That's wrong. You should hire your cousin. It's a fundamentally different sets of looking at the world.
Absolutely.
And the left think that everybody is the same and it's all just economic problems, and that if you pick up someone from one part of the world and plonk them somewhere else, they're going to be exactly the same. But the rest of us know that that is not true. And we know that Britishness is a unique set of not just values, traditions, customs, ways of doing things, dispositions, nothing to do with skin colour, colour or anything like that at all, but it's deep and it goes into the marrow of your bones, and it's what you see when you see the St George's Cross fluttering on that bloke's van, and it's what you see when England win the football or the rugby or whatever it may be. It's when you see the monarchy. It's when you hear about those guys who stood and defended this island, whatever the cost may be, as Churchill said. It goes very deep, but the left hates all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It cringes, its toes curl with embarrassment when people talk about a love of home, but not for any of us. And as you say, Jez, not for the alarm clock Brits.
Completely agree. I'm sorry. You know what happens? You incite hilarity and seriousness. I have to say hello to Ian in Swindon. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds, where she thought that the people would thank her. Brilliant. It didn't go to plan. She was heckled by a man shouting, Keir Starmer is a very bad Prime Minister. So, yeah, that's good. A couple of other things very quickly for you, my friend. The Makerfield constituency, obviously, as we head towards this local election in Greater Manchester, June the 18th, we'll be covering this and we'll be doing what we always do. All the parties, all the candidates, not all of them announced as yet. We do know, of course, that Andy Burnham, fast-tracking himself to number 10, he stands. In an area that in the local elections, 12 seats, all 12 seats at the local council elections went to Reform. They're polling well. There's a great story by Christian Calgie, is that how you say it? Calgie, who we're trying to get hold of this morning in the Mail. So because Nigel Farage yesterday decided to get in to the Reform candidate's van, Kenyon his name is, and drive around, do a bit of canvassing, and that was fine. This is a brilliant story. Christian Calgie, please come on the show. So he's just following Farage and Kenyon with some other journalists, and they're going around Makerfield, and Kenyon's showing Farage where he goes fishing, and he's showing him where he does his plumbing. Man of the people, right? Straight down the middle from me. He says to him, we need to go and get some breakfast. I'm going to take you to the place where I always have breakfast. So they go in the front, they're ordering a sausage sandwich and a cup of tea. Nigel's going to have a fag. And somebody comes over and goes, next door, well, not next door, but off a gazebo, off the cafe, Andy Burnham speaking to some local children. So it's brilliant, it's all over the Daily Mail. So the Daily Mail reporter thinks that he'll just go and have a chat with him. Well, he got a second one ripped to him. My spiky encounter with Burnham during a day on the stump with the Reformed plumber. You shouldn't be here. He's going, this isn't how politics works, and went storming off down the street, got quite verbal. So then in true Daily Mail brilliance, he says, so you think a woman can have a penis, Andy? And he shot off down the road. Brilliant. Read it in the Mail today. And of course, because this by-election is a seminal moment for this country, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll text Calgie for you. He's a pal of mine. I'll try and get him on for you.
Oh, mate, it was such great journalism yesterday. It's brilliant. If you could get him on for me, it'd be great.
I'll send him a text. I'll give him a call for you, see if he's awake yet. But absolutely, this is a really big deal. And Andy Burnham has got this unbelievably tiresome shtick of being a man of the people, right? The guy went to Cambridge University. He worked for a Labour MP. He was a Labour special advisor. He was a Labour MP at about 5 or something. He was a Labour MP for 16 odd years. He voted for the Iraq War. He was Gordon Brown's chief secretary to the Treasury, presumably around the time that Gordon Brown sold all the gold. He was health secretary, who, by the way, actually privatised a hospital. So maybe one thing that I actually quite like him for, but I'm not sure many people around the country would appreciate that. Then he loses to Ed Miliband. Then he's rubbish in the shadow cabinet. Then he loses to Jeremy Corbyn, for God's sake. Then he does that interview saying, what's your favourite biscuit? Oh, I like chips and gravy, right? It's just absolutely wrong. Then he went on about people that wear fancy suits. And I was wrong when I mentioned this last time. Sorry, Andy. It wasn't Hugo Boss. It was Armani. Sorry. And then he becomes the mayor of Manchester, where the main thing he does is paint some buses yellow. Most of the work had been done for him. Most of the money, of course, comes from the southeast. So it's complete nonsense. The guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. He says he wants to rejoin the EU, says he wants to load more immigrants in, then he says he doesn't want any more immigrants in. Then he'll say a woman can have a penis, then he'll say a woman can't have a penis. The guy hasn't got a Scooby. That's all I can tell you about him. Just a total and utter fabrication, every bit as much as Angela Rayner is. And if someone else, and if it looks like in the polling that Reform is the people to beat him, abso-bloody-lutely, because imagine some guy who actually drives a van around being an MP instead of Andy Burnham, who will not only lose that election but lose the mayoralty of Manchester as a result of this. It would be a wonderful thing, because if Burnham does get in, the only way he's going to get in as Prime Minister is to appease the nutters who are members of the Labour Party, which will mean scrapping all the rules around kicking the illegal immigrants out. It will mean way more borrowing. It'll mean way more debt, mean way more nationalising of things, and you will not be proud of the country that Andy Burnham has for the few short years he's a rubbish Prime Minister before he eventually does get kicked out, but he'll be able to do an awful lot of damage in the meantime.
Mate, you're the best. That's just an incredible... I couldn't put it better myself. Always a pleasure. What's on the agenda today?
It's a good question. I'll be coming out. I didn't even manage to do my Rachel Reeves impression, but I will.
No. You've got to do. Can you not do? You can't go, can you, till he's done it? No, Christian says you're not ever going to be booked again unless you do it now. Ladies and gentlemen, a bearded 35-year-old country gent does Richard III. Go.
Well, I think she sounds at the end of it. She's so strangled because she's trying actually not to be heard by him, so he doesn't come and have a go. I think she sounds like Alan Rickman playing Snape. Not very British, Potter, right? Go and have a listen when you hear it again. Ooh. You will see Alan Rickman. You'll see the bad guy from Die Hard.
Lovely. We love you, JP. Thank you so much indeed for coming on. James Price, former government advisor, 7:25. It's Thursday morning. What is it? May the 21st. Oh, no, it's not the longest day yet. That's another month. 0344 419 1000. The main news story today. Labour have announced that they're scrapping the planned 5p hike in fuel duty. Rachel Reeves went to a... Can't do this. Stop sending me rude ones. Rachel Reeves went to a petrol station in Leeds to fetch a pail of water. No, don't. Anyway, she got absolutely heckled by white van man. Are we going to play it again? I'm sorry. Oh, we'll play it after the break. Hang around for this, but this is brilliant. People are now sending in rhymes, and we are quite near to getting white van man, who I'm going to nominate for a peerage. 7:25. Morning, Ben.
Morning, Jeremy. Ben from Birmingham. Thanks for showing up to work today. So what else isn't British? Democratically voting to leave the EU and ignoring everything the people voted for and just continuing to walk our way back into it. Clear as day what they're up to. I've said it to my wife for the last 2 years. None of these Labour MPs will be able to walk the streets of this country ever again after what they've done to this country, especially Starmer and Reeves. I know you shouldn't say it, but it's true. The hate and vitriol that people feel for these scumbags is on another level. Great show, and I hope you don't work too hard and it's not too much for you.
Not wig.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk! Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air. Amelia Clark! Star Wars
Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely.
Go.
I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1?
Exactly, that's true, yes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 7:30 Thursday morning. This is Talk's the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brits. JK in the chair. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. There's lots of news. I mean, you know, there's news about this hike, of course, this 5p hike in fuel duty not happening. There was Carl Turner taking down the PM yesterday in question time. We'll talk, Prime Minister's questions, we'll talk to him later. There's a story that the jury in the Manchester Airport assault trial have been discharged after failing to reach a verdict. We have to be careful on that because there looks to be another retrial. It could be active, so we have to make sure. Victory for common sense today. Bridget Phillipson is expected to confirm that trans women must be barred from female toilets, changing facilities and sport teams to protect single-sex spaces. Hurrah! There's a heat wave on the way, but you lot are obsessed with one story. Yesterday, in their 18th U-turn, the government said, we've listened to the sun and we've listened to you people, and we are not going to raise fuel duty by 5p. In fact, we're going to freeze it for 3 months. Right, this is me being cynical now. Whilst the by-election carries on, and then we'll probably bring it back. But anyway, we're going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to send Rachel Reeves, or she's the third, we're going to send her to a petrol station in Leeds. That was a good idea, wasn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Is that because it's your constituency? Because I would suspect that people in Leeds are probably, you know, working class. Anyway, she got absolutely heckled to hell. Please enjoy, because it has spawned a whole host of messages, which I will tell you after this. Have a watch.
Cheers, down, we're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
Know the news about the freezing future.
So we thought we'd ask you what is being British. Reeves says it's good manners. 0344 499 1000. Dave, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Welcome back. Dave from Hertfordshire here. Well, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, eh? Ain't they great? I would just say to them very simply, maybe you should get our own house in order before you worry about the rest of the world. Maybe you should put everybody who gets up, pays, does their hard graft, and actually puts faith in this country first before you consider anything else. And to be honest, if I had a government, I would hire Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves as special advisors. So whatever advice they give me, I'll do the exact damn opposite, because I know what to do. Have a good show.
Lovely. So on the back of that, and I just happened to say Rachel Reeves went to Leeds. Well, you are Alarm Clock Brits brilliant. 87222, your comments. You're now sending me in rhymes. Peter, there was an old woman called Reeves who everyone in Britain, she peeves. She talks about manners while her boss lies and stammers, and hopefully both will sod off and leave. Very good. One of the more polite ones. 0344 499 1000. Right. I know this is a shocking thing to announce. It's May the 21st, and ladies and gentlemen, there's a heat wave on the way. So excited. Well, possibly because I have to go camping with the kids next week. Temperature set to hit 31 as a 6-day health. Yes, camping. Don't even go there. I have to go glamping with my children in the half-term holiday. Why are you all laughing? Why are you laughing? I have to do it. Because they like to go camping. Does that make you laugh? It's glamping, okay? Victoria builds the fire. I didn't do anything. I just sit there next to the fire pit going, it's cold, with a cigarette and a glass of wine. Anyway, honestly, 6-day health heat alert. Bank holiday and school half term. In true British style, it's going to be boiling hot and everybody's going to go, it's too hot, we're all going to frazzle. When we're talking weather, right, you can forget all the pretenders. I worked with this woman for many years. She is the best in the business by a mile. Meteorologist, used to be on that station. What did we call it, Claire? Claire Nazir, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you doing?
I'm good. They'll all start moaning about the heat, sweetheart, won't they? That's what happens in this country.
Well, not everyone likes it. Some people like that really cold, wet weather, which we have been having. But to be honest, it's a gift for meteorologists to see some warm weather coming our way for a bank holiday weekend.
But this isn't just nice. This is going to be proper hot. I mean, when I go camping, I can wear shorts, can't I?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, the top temperature now is likely to be probably 32 on Monday, perhaps even 33. So it could be a record-breaking bank holiday weekend. And it extends into next week. My daughter is off on study leave next week. She's currently doing her GCSE.
No, hold on a second, Nazir. Hold on a minute. You've got a 16-year-old.
That's very kind.
What happened to us, mate?
Yes, I have.
What happened to us?
And it's been a gauntlet, Jeremy. It really has. I don't know whether you've been through that process yourself, but there's a lot of learning for everybody going on.
Oh, mate, the exam thing, honestly, you can't win for losing. I promise you. You just got to keep your head down. And, of course, heat doesn't help. But just to give people, because they love to know the truth, it is going to be, I mean, extraordinary. How long is it going to last for? Is it going to be the whole length of the country? What are we thinking?
Right, so it starts on Friday towards the southeast. You're going to see 28 there. Still some cloud and rain towards Scotland, Northern Ireland, but it will fizzle out through the weekend. So it's an improving picture across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Brighter by the end of the weekend. Everyone's got a bank holiday. Eventually, most places will see that strong sunshine, and the sun is strong. We're only a month before highest solar radiation, the longest day of the year. So yeah, UV levels will be high. Slap on some sun cream. I have to say that because a lot of people in this country are fair, and we know we've had such bad weather here. Yeah. A blast of sunshine, you can get burnt. The other thing I need to say as well, sea temperatures are very low at the moment. Lakes and rivers even lower. Cold water, and that's where people run into trouble. It's hot standing there in the sunshine, you jump into a river and bang, it's cold water shock. So that is a real issue. But let's celebrate the sunshine. It's going to be glorious as we head into next week. If you're camping, well done you. But there could be some very warm nights as well, so a bit sweaty under canvas.
Can I point out that this isn't nice? Can I point out this isn't camping, it's glamping, right? So every year for half term, 3 families, right? So 6 adults, lots of kids. And it always pees with rain, and I hate it. It's an outside shower, and you should hear it, right? But I do, after a couple of days, embrace it, right? But this year, it's going to be nice, so I think it'll be all right. I'll probably be trampled by a cow. Vic's really good. Vic, honestly, she does it all. Honestly, I just sit there with a cigarette and a glass of wine. Much the best.
I do salute your wife, I really do, and I think that she deserves some fine weather just to get through the event.
She actually always looks forward to the end of the week, so I bugger off back to work and she's on her own, which is always nice.
I know that feeling.
Claire, thank you. So warning to people, be careful, all those sorts of things, really important, right?
Yeah, and high levels of grass pollen as well.
All right,
but enjoy it. Celebrate the sunshine, Jeremy.
Good luck with the exam, sweetheart. We'll see you very soon. We love her. Claire Nazir, meteorologist. She's fantastic. Best in the business. Just gone 25 to 8. Jez, love the show, but love James Price more. Ooh. If I wouldn't be accused of being a cougar, I'd marry him. James for PM, says David. No, I'm joking. Esme. Jez, being British is protecting your family, protecting your rights and keeping this country to account, including having your government do best for its people. Labour has to go. I'm just surprised that Reeves didn't say, that's not very European. If Rachel Reeves was on a forecourt in Asia, where I live, locals currently get subsidised fuel at the pumps. Foreigners pay more. How about that for discrimination? Reform would be crucified if they suggested that, says Pete. Morning to Jeff. You could see the colour drain out of her face. What did the woman want? Party poppers and confetti. She is clearly that deluded that they are doing a good job. Time for me to protect my family and leave this country, as it has nothing left to offer my children. Jeez. Morning, Jay. Morning, Erios. I hope that's right. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Right, listen, back in a minute. We're going to talk more about this fuel duty cut. We've got David Boot. I might give him that. I'm joking. External Affairs Director of the RHA, and Alan Miller, co-founder of the Together the Ride... I don't know. Anyway, they're both on next. Back in a minute.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 20 to 8, Thursday morning. JK at the controls, 0344 499 1000. Thank you to Claire Nazir. That heat wave, 31 or 32 degrees on Monday and lovely for the half term, is factual. Make sure you're good. Listen. So much about Rachel Reeves. This announcement yesterday at the Leeds petrol station. She got heckled by a white fan man. Are we getting in nearer to getting him? Honestly, we're doing our absolute damnedest to get that man. I think he should be given a knighthood. And her. Listen to this. Morning, Jez. Rachel from North Yorkshire. Politicians like Reeves are only screeching about us not being very British because it's a panic response and they've got nothing else to give. They can see they are loathed, and every time they come across rejection from the masses, they label us as racist, bigots and not very British in the hopes it slaps us down. Well, I say stuff that. Their label means nothing to me, and they need to remember that it's Alarm Clock Britain who pays their wages, and they need to start acting like it. Great show. Thank you very much indeed. Morning to Linda Whittingham. That's why Rachel and Starmer don't walk the streets and talk to the people like Nigel Farage does. Starmer just goes into the Labour hubs, has tea with the people who fawn all over him, like when he visited Denton and Gorton, does a runner in the back of a car. The same with the school he visited in Thameside. No one knew he was coming. Here's the point from last week. Starmer must be the only incumbent Prime Minister who'd like reform to win that seat in Makerfield, because that way Burnham wouldn't get in and be able to challenge him. And then you wonder, is he going to go and campaign there? If I was Starmer, I'd go every day just to wind Burnham up. Pete, good morning.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Pete from Wiltshire. Being British used to mean having a spine of steel against the people that wanted to do us harm and a helping hand for the people that didn't. Now the spine's gone rusty and the hand's gone limp. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Good morning. 19 minutes to 8 o'clock. Right, next. I was only joking before. We want to talk more about this fuel duty hike that isn't going to happen, because obviously it's not going to bloody happen, because that's the way it goes. We'll say good morning to David Boot, External Affairs Director of the Road Haulage Association. David, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. How you doing?
Good to have you on. Thank you very much indeed. Just very quickly, I also want to bring in Alan Miller, co-founder of the Together Declaration. Alan, good morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, let's start, if we can, please, with David. My viewers and listeners, understandably cynical, many of them saying, another U-turn, the 5p hike in fuel duty should never have happened. It only asked 3 months because it's a political manoeuvre because of a by-election. It's nothing to do with caring about road users. What would you say to that, David Boot?
Well, it's something we've been calling for. So we've been calling on the government not to increase fuel duty since it was announced in the budget and before the budget. Yep. So we welcome the announcement. As you say, it's not enough for hauliers. So we get a slight respite until the end of the year. But actually, we need targeted support for hauliers. We need an essential user rebate to help hauliers, to help van drivers, to help coach drivers as well. So welcome a shift from the government, but we need a lot more.
I couldn't agree more. Alan, the point is, when you come to power, whatever your political persuasion, and you say, I'm going to grow the economy and I'm going to care for the working Brit and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, it strikes me that almost everything this Labour Party has done, increase in NI and workers' rights in terms of the hospitality businesses, we get calls every day. People use their cars and their vans to make a living and they're really, really struggling. And it says something, doesn't it, that a government yet again has to U-turn because they can't work this out for themselves in the first instance.
I think that's absolutely right, Jeremy. I mean, in the 8 weeks since the 1st of March 2026, we've seen that the government's taken an extra £280 million in VAT. And UK drivers have had to pay about 1.3 billion extra for diesel and petrol compared with the beginning of March. And what that means is it hits us really hard in the pocket. So it's right that it's actually been postponed, but actually it should be postponed for the lifetime. But we also have to ask ourselves the question why 40 other nations are able to do reductions in fuel duty. Yep. And that's something that we should be having here. Why is it that Britain's not able to do that? And I think it goes along with, as well, many concerns that 36 or 37 million drivers have in Britain, which was there's been a kind of war on cars. Of course, there's global issues that have been happening, but we hear this time and again. And actually, there's often a land grab. There's erratic fuel pump prices. They're not consistent. That needs to be assessed and looked at. Much of the extra charging is being done on current stock, not on future stock that's being impacted. And what that means is if you've got a proper robust grip of the situation, then you can handle it. But we've got a meandering, net zero obsessed anti-car culture with this government. We've seen that with other things. We've seen that with things like low traffic neighbourhoods, ULEZ, the attempt to kind of constantly force people out of their cars onto bicycles. You know, we've got so-called transport organisations that are telling us to walk everywhere and cycle, rather than the thing that really was the combustion engine of development and transformation and wealth creation, which was transportation in cars and commercial vehicles and that type of thing. So we've got to get back to productivity and wealth creation, and that's why really this government should definitely postpone it, not just for this period that it's saying, but through the end of Parliament, and actually get to grips with harnessing transportation in Britain in a kind of very sensible way that's going to be conducive to the rest of businesses.
Couldn't agree more. And I think, you know, David, the cynicism that people would have that this is just a political ploy might sound cynical for me, but I don't have any understanding, respect or belief in so many of our politicians right now. It strikes me that this story is fundamentally about what this show is every day, which is what I call alarm clock Brits. People are out of bed doing their bit. And whatever your politics, if it's now in this country seemingly less... there's less point to going to work, right? Whether you use a van or a car or whatever, there seems to be less point of going to work than sitting at home and doing nothing. And this is another way that so many people, and I like what Al said, an anti-car culture. Do you agree with them on that? Because we should be doing something to support something that's absolutely instrumental to our infrastructure, isn't it?
Well, what is instrumental to our economy is the ability to deliver goods. Yeah. So if we look at food and drink, 98% of food and drink has travelled to us on a truck. So if you put prices up, then there is the real worry that you will increase food inflation even further. Now, if we look at the costs themselves, so as a haulier, you're paying up to 35% more bulk diesel price than you were pre-invasion. So there is a real economic worry.
Sorry, when you say pre-invasion, you mean what's happening in the Middle East?
Exactly, and this
is where I don't have the expertise in any way that you two do. So I just want to ask you both a question separately. I cover a government that seems to U-turn or make excuses every day. There's no doubt that the impact of the Middle East on petrol prices, oil prices, all of that is important. But that cannot be blamed for where this government is. All of these fuel hikes and all this lack of support for your industry, the RHA and other industries, was well before this. This is an ideology also based on net zero, isn't it, David? At the end of the day, they could have made changes when they came to power to make it more effective for hauliers and for road drivers.
I think what we've seen from our members is that there is a huge frustration that every time there's a global oil price increase, that we are exposed. Yeah. So I think from an industry perspective, we need government to recognise the importance of road freight, the importance of logistics to keeping the country moving. And that means, yes, it means acting in times of crisis, but to your point, Jeremy, it also means acting when we're not in a crisis situation to support industry. Now, we know 85% of the industry are SMEs. So actually, to support those, we need an environment that is allowing those companies to flourish. And that means prices that are sensible. It means regulation that's sensible. And that's what we ask for of the government in times of crisis and every day in our conversations with them.
Couldn't agree more. Alan, just to finish, do you buy it's all about the Middle East war, or do you think this is a fundamental ideology that needs to change?
Yeah, it's not all about the Middle East war. Obviously, that has consequences. What this is about is the approach and the strategy of a government. And we've got to say, of a sluggish approach to growth and productivity for several decades in Britain. We need to get our act together. That's with infrastructure. That's with dispensing with net zero, which is impoverishing us. That's with harnessing the kind of can-do approach that once saw this nation be the leading engineering power in innovation internationally. And now has got us in a situation where we've got many of our cities, high streets are blocked from cars delivering to places. If you look at places like Glasgow, which was the heart of hospitality, much tourism, that's now almost been closed down because of the measures that councils have done. And that's why we're saying at the Together Declaration that the public should have their voice heard. I don't believe that this government, I think that it's got its hands off the wheel and it's completely in chaos. What people in Britain need, there is concerns, of course, with cost of living. This government should postpone any fuel duty hike. In fact, we should get a reduction like we've seen in some of the 40 nations. And more importantly as well, at the same time, get to grips with what the investment and economic plan is that can have real wealth creation for everyone. So we're not in a constant situation where people can't afford month to month. That needs to get transformed and it needs to happen quickly.
Couldn't agree more, gentlemen. Thank you. And by the way, Alan, do you know how much you sound like Alan Sugar? Brilliant. Honestly, fantastic. Guys, thank you so much indeed. 10 to 8, we're live across the United Kingdom. JK on breakfast. I'll do that call in a bit because I want to get on with this. Norman, morning, JK. Alarm clock Britain here. The last time we saw Rachel Reeves was the day before Gordon Brown was welcomed back to number 10 as advisor to number 11, who actually is the bloody Chancellor now. Morning, Jess. Can you get the government advisors that you talked to explain to me why the government seems to have forgotten about stopping the boats? Apart from your channel, it doesn't feel like anybody's talking about it. Of course they aren't, Mary and Cantor, because I've got a bloody answer. Jeff's in Bedford. Morning, Jess. Being British is protecting our children from grooming gangs and putting the full force of our laws into a full investigation. Can I say a very good morning to a legend? His name's Rob Armstrong. He's driving to school. Well, college. That was a bit naff, wasn't it? Chloe's in the car. She's going, it's not school, is it? It's like I'm at college. Anyway, listen. Morning. Loving you very much indeed. We'll say a very good morning to intrepid Talk breakfast. What a fantastic... We went absolutely viral the other day, you and I. What does that mean? I thought it was an illness.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I've no idea.
Usually in the context of illness it's spoken about.
How are you, Australia?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I think it went viral because it resonated with the audience so much. Obviously, we're talking about the protests that happened over the weekend.
Have you seen the heckler shouting at Rachel Reeves?
I did. Legend.
It's very un-British, isn't it? Bad manners.
No, it's actually the most British thing he could do. That's why I love this country. You can do that to politicians, just like people heckle.
What did she think would happen if you go to a Leeds working class just estate and stand there and go, my government's making a difference. We're not going to do something we said we were going to do. She's turned into Starmer on and ridiculous.
My favourite thing about that video, though, is that the mask totally slipped off her face and then you saw the real Rachel Reeves and it was like her talking like sort of with gritted teeth, speaking about how she you can see how much they despise the working class. They really, really do.
I've actually, we've played her doing this, being heckled, but I've actually got the Channel 4 version now. And can I just repeat, we're nearly very close to getting the man who heckled on the show. This is the Channel 4 version of Reeves' heckle. I bet the mainstream media did it differently. Let's have a watch.
I love our country. I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British. Right. Very good.
Great.
Put that on the telly.
No, very good. Put that on the telly. Morning, Jeremy. I don't know why my voice is like manners. What did Reeves expect? Morning, Rachel. Thanks for stealing every last bit of money and the shirt off my bloody back and squandering our taxes. We're really eternally grateful. God bless you. That's the reality.
Yeah, there's Comrade Keir coming into power here, it kind of seems. People have written about different various articles about how this government is acting like some sort of communist dictatorship whereby, you know, Rachel Reeves, she's implied horrible policies that have objectively made some people in this country worse off, and then she can't take a bit of criticism on the street. It's like, no, you can't talk to your leaders that way. Yes, you can, OK?
And you need to wash your hair, Rachel, as somebody said
earlier. Well, there's that too. That's the most important thing.
Now, as ever, I want to have more time with you, but I don't. There's another story today which I have to be really careful about. The jury in the Manchester Airport assault trial, and we covered this. The police and two men were involved in a scuffle some months months ago. Not sure what's happened to the policeman, but the two have been discharged after the jury failed to reach a verdict. This is still an active case. There could be a retrial, so it's difficult for us to say. But I wanted to do this quickly with you because this really resonated with our viewers and listeners earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think no one will forget that crazy footage they saw. It's really interesting, though, that they haven't been able to come to a conclusion about who was guilty in this case. And I feel like whatever footage you view, you can now see that two juries have struggled to come to a conclusion about it, which shows you how divisive this issue was and how divisive this particular case is. I feel like the danger with some of the viral clips is that a lot of people decide guilt within seconds.
If I can just say without, and Christian will look at me, I remember the story and that there was some footage initially of what the policeman was doing, and everybody quite rightly looked at that and went, oh my God. And then there was footage later on about what the two men had done previous to that. And so it must be quite difficult to put it all together, he says, in a very balanced and straight way.
No, it absolutely is, I think, and that's what the jury has tackled with, so they've obviously thrown it out. I feel like a hung jury is not vindication on either side here. So the CPS now faces a very difficult decision, you know. Is a third trial in the public interest? That's the question to ask. And I just think that it is a really, really
the reason I was looking at you, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no, I'm hearing something.
Well, Christian said, is a third trial ever happen? Is that rare?
That's what I mean. That is the question. Is that going to happen? And it just shows you, you know, is trial by the media such a good thing? Yeah. Because, you know, some people would say that it might have not helped. But I agree with you. You know, we were getting different bits and pieces, drips of information. And it just became more and more complicated. I think it's very much a he said, she said type of case, internal family drama, all that sort of thing. So it's just draining the sort of public finances. That's my key issue.
But I'm also into justice. We'll see what happens. Anybody who knows you knows you're Australian.
Yeah.
Did you like what I did there?
Got my nasally accent on.
Rachel yesterday, sorry, British, bad manners. Well, just interesting from you. What's being British, although you're an Aussie, what does being British in your mind mean?
I think it's saying what you feel, being true to your values, working hard, and being patriotic about a country that has done so much for so many people globally. And I think just being...
And increasingly for other people and not for its own people.
Well, exactly. I think that's what it's about. But it is also... That's why I do love these stories with a passion, because in Australia we had a thing where the Prime Minister was on someone's lawn that they had freshly mowed that morning. Right. And he was doing a conference, and he basically just stepped on this guy's lawn, and the guy just came out of his house and was like, get the hell off my lawn, mate, like blah blah blah, and started
get off my lawn, mate.
and started berating him. And it's like, this is the good part about democracy, and anyone saying that this is some sort of crazy right-wing jab at a chancellor. Well, I think a lot of people on the other side, on the Conservative side, on the Reform side, get so much shtick. In fact, much more dangerous shtick than what Rachel got, which is just a sort of smattering of you're not good enough.
Not very good manners.
Not very good manners. All right.
Gee, I wish we could have you more. I'm so sorry. Amazing job you're doing. We're so grateful. Morning, campers. Pete from Shrewsbury. A little ditty for you very quickly. Rachel had a little plan to cut the 5p hike. Yet another U-turn. Will this government ever learn? Pack your bags, sod off on your bike. Morning, Lee.
Morning, Jez. It's Lee from Bexley Heath. The thing that cracks me up about that video is when the fella's heckling her, she didn't know what to say. And then all of a sudden, you can see it in her eyes. It's a light bulb moment. She thinks, stroke of genius. And then she answers, the thing about this country is good manners. And then as soon as she says that, she does this little grin as if to say, look at that. The answer of all answers. You can't answer that one back. What a moron.
not a wig.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk!
Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air. Amelia Clark!
Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1?
Exactly, that's true, yes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome along and welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, the 21st of May. We're Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock. Brit, thank you for tuning in. If you do want to be part of this vain attempt at a programme, 0344 499 1000. You can do a voice note, a live call. You can text to 87222. In a minute, I love a legend, author and columnist of the Daily Mail, Sarah Vine. Before that, what are you waking up to? Well, there's all sorts of stuff going on, but the main news story of the day is that yesterday Labour announced basically another U-turn. They were shelving and scrapping their planned 5p hike in fuel duty, and their idea was to send the Chancellor of the Exchequer, one Rachel Reeves, Richard III, whatever you want to call her, to a petrol station forecourt in Leeds, where amongst hard-working Brits who are so respectful of what Labour's done for them, she could make this announcement to Channel 4 and have a thoroughly wonderful interview. Then a man in a van turned up. Have a watch, have a listen.
Keir Starmer, we're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party's useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
So the news about the freezing future.
I love our country. I love our country. One of the things about it is good manners. Is it good manners to destroy the growth of our businesses and let people face bankruptcy because of the tax increases and the NI? Is it good manners to have open borders and no police and allow crime to run rife? Is it good manners to not to have had a national grooming gangs inquiry? Is it good manners to screw the pensioners and the farmers? I could carry on forever, Rachel. Do me a favour, love. If you are going to be a politician, expect that people are going to have an opinion. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Wayne.
Morning, Jezza. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham, mate. Today, I am not even going to mention the government. I just want to give a massive shout out to my football club, Aston Villa, pride of the Midlands. Here I am, Ray, fantastic man. McGinn, fantastic captain. All the boys, well done last night. Let's have a few beers today, lads. Keep up the good work.
Well, I don't...
Jezza, thanks very much. Good luck, West Ham, by the way, Jez.
God. I'm not talking about football, although we're still alive, West Ham, till the final day. Well done, the Villa. Up to Villa, Marsh. All right, Wayne. Thank you for tuning in this morning. So we've got that. Later on, we've got Carl Turner, the independent MP, who was thrown out of Labour for having an opinion. He tore one out of Starmer yesterday about being accused and talked about in terms of his mental health, which is very interesting. And a victory for common sense, ladies and gentlemen. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, yes, her with the bob, is expected to confirm today that trans women must be barred from female toilets, changing facilities and sports teams. It's taken a while, but apparently that's going to happen. And the big news, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have a heat wave on the way for bank holiday. Just following on from Rachel Reeves, I just asked what's being British. What does being British mean to you? We'd love to hear from you. I just jokingly announced that I was going glamping next week with my children for half-term holiday because they love it. I've never seen such amusement amongst the crew. People are crying with laughter at the thought of me camping somewhere in the Cotswolds. Let me point out, it's not... Stop it, you lot. Stop it. You London-centric, bubble-infested people. It's wonderful to be out amongst the... No, it's frightening. And if it wasn't for Vic, I mean, honestly, she does it all. I can't pitch anything. I can't cook it. Why are you looking at me, Christian? He said to me, I said to him, is there any part of going camping that you would do? And he went, no. What do you do all day? I don't know when you put it like that, but the kids love it, right? They love it, so I'm going to do it. Shut up. Very good morning. Here's a lady who knows what it's like to be British. Sarah Vine, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Camping, Sarah Vine, yes or no?
Well, you say you're going camping in the Cotswolds. I wouldn't say that was exactly very feral.
It's glamping, Sarah. It's glamping.
Hill in the countryside, isn't it?
Well, yes, but I mean, it's sort of it's in a field somewhere, isn't it? It's glamping.
Okay, but I'm sure there's a nice, farm shop and a decent pub within, staggering distance.
Oh, absolutely. We've already booked all the pubs to go for lunches and evenings, and and there's a farm shop, absolutely. Now, see, do you know what it's called? It's called an honesty shop. Why am I getting into this? You take stuff and then you write in a book. Don't start. Anyway, Sarah Vine, good morning.
Good morning.
Politicians being heckled. Rachel Reeves...
It's a bit of a Gillian Duffy moment, isn't it, Rachel Reeves?
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember that woman that had a go at Gordon Brown in the 2010 election? And then he got in the car and he said, "God, that woman's..." I can't remember what he said. He called her despicable or awful or something.
Bigoted woman or something.
Bigoted. That's right. That's right. I wonder what Rachel said when she got back in her ministerial limousine.
Did she expect? Another U-turn.
This is the thing. This is why politicians get so out of touch, because something like that happens, and then she'll go back to her team and she'll say, "Okay, just to say, could you never put me in a petrol station in Leeds ever again? I only ever want to do press conferences in a sealed room with 4 carefully chosen people who will say nice things about my frankly hideous suit." I mean, your listeners have been very. I have to say, they're very literary. The poems are very impressive. I was thinking, I was trying to think if I was getting dressed what rhymes with Reeves and etc. But they've done a good job.
There
But
once was a
is she
Chancellor
wearing?
Reeves who rolled up her pinstripe sleeves.
Yeah.
At the petrol
good.
forecourt, she sneered vile little minions, but said that is just my Treasury opinions. Then Karma arrived in a van, a rarity known as a working man. Her grin disappeared after all that she feared, with one bloke roaring, "Go on, Farage!" They're up for it this morning, this lot, I'm telling you.
Yeah, they're really good. But she won't do that again in a hurry.
Do you think that this, on a serious note, in terms of fuel, I mean, so much money is made by our governments when people have to buy. I mean, is our petrol the most expensive? I mean, we can talk about net zero and everything, but this gets to the root cause of working people. Working people need fuel to fuel their vans and their cars. I had a district nurse on before who said, I have to pay for my own petrol and I can't afford to go to work. People can't afford to go to work. Isn't this exactly the moment where, not under pressure from The Sun or any other newspaper, but actually this is where a government should have the foresight or the ability to say this would help people?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as you said earlier, there's a lot of anti-car feeling. Most of it comes from urban places like London and sort of cities where there's a good public system and you can travel by tube or bus or whatever. But most people need their cars. You can't go to work on a bicycle if you're a plumber. What are you going to do? Where are you going to put your tills? How are you going to carry all your stuff? It's completely mad. And there's been this really kind of aggressive effort to basically criminalize car ownership and car use.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just ridiculous. And there are lots of very powerful voices who sort of seem to think it's a good idea. But the reality is you just can't take 3 kids to school on the back of a bike in a rural area. There are things that you just can't do. So you need, that our entire society is based around the automobile, like it or not. It's just what it is. And the idea that we're now going to start buying Russian oil and gas again, when we've got our own stuff, which we can very easily extract and use and not have to pay a vast criminal enterprise extra for it. This is the thing that I think is driving people round the bend. They just look at the decisions that the government is making and they think, my toddler could do better.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? If you step back from this 5p fuel hike being scrapped simply for political reasons, you go, let me get this right. We've got the most expensive petrol in the land, in the world, it seems, almost. What's it in America? About 1/5 of the cost. We have a government that says we're not going to drill in the North Sea because that would be wrong for the environment, and then allows the Norwegians to actually drill in the same area or next to it, and then we buy it off them for increased money. None of these decisions, and then I get infuriated when I hear, well, the war in Middle East. Yeah, it started in February. These problems are long been around. It just infuriates me, like you said, that these decisions are so inane. Kids, my kids could make better decisions, genuinely.
They're just idiotic. It's not joined up thinking. The idea that you're going to be buying Russian energy and it's okay to buy it because you're somehow buying it via India. I mean, that's just madness. One thing that's gone totally unnoticed this week, because so much has been going on, is the fact that the government had this sort of highfalutin thing that they weren't going to buy. They weren't going to buy anything off China that had been made with slave labour, because China, as we know, uses child and slave labour, and particularly in the manufacturing of things like solar panels.
Yes.
Well, this week the government on Monday said that it wouldn't. That it would not knowingly buy anything that had been made with slave labour.
So they will be buying stuff with slave labour then?
Of course. So this whole thing, and this is the whole net zero thing, which is that you want to sort of you want to have your fundamental thing, which is we're net zero, but then you're paying all these other evil people to do terrible things just so that you can tick that box. It's idiotic, and even someone who's not politically sophisticated or particularly interested can just see that. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to understand that what they're doing is fundamentally idiotic.
Very quick question for you, because one of the things that Steve said was, that's not very British, good manners. Couple of things for you. Steve says, is it good British manners to allow pro-Palestinian marches and allow them to chant anti-Semitism remarks? Brian says, what's it like to be British? If Burnham had anything to do with it, you'd have to ask the EU. What does being British mean to you, Sarah Vine?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was coming back from Spain yesterday because one of my relatives has been very ill over that, and they've got this sort of slightly very annoying new system where all the Brits, because we're being punished for leaving the EU, we've got to do an extra thing with the passport and the fingerprints and all of that malarkey. And I have to say, I've never seen a group of more compliant, polite, patient people as all the Brits who were queuing to get on aeroplanes going back to places like Birmingham, Birmingham, Bristol, sort of the Midlands, and also Luton and Gatwick. And, most people would be tearing their hair out, but they were just going and doing the thing that they had to do and then joining the queue and being very good-natured and very civilized about it and having a laugh. And, everyone was chatting with each other. They didn't know each other. I think that's for me is the Brits,
British stiff upper lip.
Yes, and also just a sort of sense of humour, about sort of annoying things. And
I do think though now we're at a moment in our history for the first time ever where that's being stretched to the limit. And I always go on about the silent majority and fairness. Couple of other things. Very quickly, yesterday, Wes Streeting, who we know resigned as Health Secretary last week, the shenanigans of this government still go on. Will Starmer survive? We'll talk about Makerfield. Just want to play a little bit of his departing resignation speech. He says that the future is about fighting against nationalism. Play this clip for me, please.
I left the government because we are in the fight of our lives against nationalism. And it is a fight that we are currently losing. Unless we change course, we risk handing the keys of number 10 to reform. And I do not want that on our consciences.
Let's talk about, not Wes, but let's talk about politics and centre it on this Makerfield by-election, which is going to be on June the 18th. Andy Burnham has secured the selection process. He will be the Labour candidate. The papers today are full of the Mail, brilliant story about Kenyon, the Reform candidate, the plumber, and a Daily Mail colleague of yours having a run-in with Burnham, which is fantastic. Do you see this by-election as a seminal moment? Because let's be honest, if Burnham wins, he'll be our next Prime Minister, and if he loses, it's over, isn't it?
Well, I think fundamentally it's very undemocratic. I don't see why 76,000 people should get to elect the next Prime Minister. That is not democratic. I don't think... I think Andy Burnham is one of these figures that the Labour Party have got a sort of massive pash. Do you remember when you were a child and you had a pash on someone?
Yeah.
They've got a
Pash.
massive pash.
I love it. Pash.
A massive pash.
Yeah.
It's like a huge crush on Andy with his eyelashes, and they think that he's the Messiah, but he's not the Messiah. He's done well. He's done well there because he's a relatively big fish in a relatively sort of well-organised small pond, and there's a big difference between being a mayor. We saw this with Boris Johnson. It's very easy to be a successful mayor. It's a lot harder to be a successful Prime Minister. If he does come to London, I think he'll run into all kinds of problems. I find it irritating that he thinks a woman can have a penis because a woman can't have a penis.
Irritating or just downright stupid? Let's be honest about the last 3 days. He's backtracked on his position on the EU because he definitely last September, I had the clip the other day, said I want to rejoin. Then at the weekend it's like, I'm not so sure. He's going to backtrack on this trans thing. This is not, whatever people think, this is not a political party, political broadcast. He is not a conviction politician. This man will change with the wind to get that seat, to get to Parliament. So I would be asking people in Makerfield, is he going to serve your best interest? But what do I know? I don't know.
No, I mean, I think you're completely right. He's not somebody. He just wants to get into power for power's sake. Yeah. It's there. He's got a shot at it, and he's taking it. He's got no fundamental agenda or principles because he can't. Because the whole EU thing, the Labour Party is stirring the kind of Brexit pot again. Is because that seat is very Brexity. Yeah. They voted to leave, so it's difficult because he's obviously a Europhile. He wants to go back into Europe, but he can't say that because otherwise they're not going to vote for him. It's just. I mean, again, it's just a shower, isn't it? People can see this. And this whole Wes going on about nationalism. The reason that Nigel Farage is so close to power is because people like him have not done their jobs properly. The reason you get more extremist politicians is because people become frustrated because the mainstream politicians do their jobs so badly that people go to men like Farage who have very strong, very, crystal clear opinions and views. And, you may or may not agree with them, but the point is people are frustrated. They want something else. They don't want this. This is not working for them. And, it's their fault. You reap what you sow. If you're a bad, lazy, useless, unprincipled politician, you get angry voters who vote for people that you're worried about. That's what's happening.
Couldn't agree anymore. I'm rather disappointed this morning. We didn't see Cersei. Where are the cats this morning?
Well, I got up very early and she had her food, so I think she's gone to see her boyfriend at number 10.
Now, you see, that could be construed. I love that. This is from Sarah Vine, who knows more about this anyway. The cat's gone to see her boyfriend at number 10. Brilliant. So we're talking about Larry, the cat, is that right?
Yes, Larry, yes.
So you're that near to Downing Street that your cat's gone to go and have a...
No, I'm not actually, sadly.
No, but she's going across London. Brilliant. Sarah, you're amazing. Thank you so much indeed. Sarah Vine, author and Daily Mail columnist. Love having her on 8:20. Can I just very quickly take a moment? Because Oliver William Robin Kyle is sat in the car with his sister Rissy and refuses to go to school until his dad says good morning. Hello, little man. Hope you're OK. Have a good one. And Rissy Roo, the wife's coming to town later. I'm going to introduce you to her, Christian, because you said going camping is not a good idea. She's now going to never make you banana bread cake again. Alan, good morning.
Morning, JK. Big Al from Swansea, yeah. Oh, good manners, buddy. Tell you what, it's just a farce, isn't it? It's always gaslighting and it's not very British. What's Starmer done to the British people the last 2 years? It's off the charts, buddy. It's off the scale of the incompetence of freezing old people, prosecuting veterans. Oh, the list, Mandelson. Oh, the list is just endless. And yet this woman grandstanding, it's not very British, really. Go back and have a chat to that idiot in number 10 and educate him on good manners. Because the British people have had an absolute gutsful. We can see through it. And this fool bloody tax hike, they're not suspending it because they put it up the last 2 months with the Iran war anyway. On the pretense, as usual. Always pretense. Always someone else's fault. Anyway, buddy, every day it's a circus. Keep up the great show. Ta-ra.
Always good to have Christian's dad on. 0344 419 1000. Let's cross to the House of Commons out in the morning sunshine as the heat wave approaches. Shadow Chancellor Exchequer Mel Stride. Good morning, Mel. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. I'm absolutely fine and pleased to be on your show.
Would you ever, if you stood on a policy that said you're going to raise a 5p duty on fuel and then you did a U-turn because you were incompetent, would you go to Leeds and stand on a petrol forecourt, Mel Stride?
Well, I think that the whole decision has been taken in the worst possible way because they should have decided to do this some time back, and it shouldn't have taken weeks and weeks and weeks of pressure from the Conservative Party and our petitioning and all the activity that we've been involved in.
And the Sun, Mel Stride, and the Sun newspaper.
Indeed. I'm not saying we were a lone voice, but I think as the opposition in Parliament, we have held Rachel's feet to the fire on this one, and I think we've been instrumental in delivering this result. But look, Jeremy, the reality is the economy is in a really weak position at the moment because of the decisions that the Chancellor's taking, all this taxing and spending and high inflation, high unemployment and so on, and low growth. And that's why we're in a very weak position when it comes into now leaning into these kind of pressures, like rising food prices, like what's happening in the Middle East. And people are rightly very frustrated, disappointed, and in some cases very angry about what has happened.
In terms of rhetoric, in terms of messaging, Starmer stood up yesterday, it might have been yesterday or the day before, and said that our economy is the most successful economy in the G7. How does that sit with... Well, yeah, precisely. I mean, did he make that up? Because I haven't met anybody who thinks that's right. Well, where did that come from?
I have no idea. I mean, look, what the government will be doing now is to say, look, we've done a brilliant job with the economy, and any problems that we face from now on are external shocks like the Middle East war, and that's really the story. Well, it isn't. What we know is they came into office, they whacked up taxes to the sort of highest levels in post-war history, particularly on businesses, and part of those taxes, of course, went through to higher prices, because that's what businesses do. They pass on costs. They also are out there borrowing about £250 billion more than the plans that they inherited from us. All of that has stoked up inflation. It's why we had the highest inflation in the G7 last year. And it's the underlying story as to why your listeners, Jeremy, are really suffering and struggling to get by. It's because of socialist economic policies, I'm afraid.
I have to say, economically, there are so many things that are wrong with this country right now. One of the big stories of the day, I'd love your take on this, actually. Bridget Phillipson today, apparently, is expected to confirm that trans women must be barred from female toilets. This, of course, follows guidance after last year's Supreme Court judgment that trans women who were born male are not legally women, and it protects in female toilets, changing facilities and sports teams, single-sex spaces. I mean, it's a huge ideological debate, but to me it's really simple, Mel. I've got a teenage daughter. Sorry, I don't want my daughter to be changing in a change room where a man undresses. You can identify. I'm not bothered about that. I just think that it's extraordinary that we have a debate about something that to me is pure common sense.
We need to have spaces where women can be comfortable, whether it's toilets or whatever, based on the Supreme Court's ruling, which is the right ruling, that sex means biological sex. And I think it's pretty much as simple as that.
Have I got a very straight... Is there a very, very funny sound all of a sudden? There is a funny noise. Just Mel, just one other thing, and you've been very forceful about Reeves, and we appreciate always you coming on. Can I just ask you about Wes Streeting? Were you in the Commons yesterday when he made his resignation speech?
I wasn't in the Commons, but I've obviously heard elements of it reported, yeah.
Is he right that the next election is a fight against nationalism?
Well,
all right, listen, we have a problem with the line. I do apologise. Mel, not your problem at all. Let's just drop that if we can for a minute. We'll try and get that line back. Not a great line. Don't worry, Dave, not your problem. Hello to Margaret in Birmingham. Carl Turner's conversation about his mental health should have been private and confidential. How can they treat him this way? We're talking to Carl Turner after the news at 9 this morning. This is the man who was once a Labour MP, now an independent, who yesterday let it be known that the government had briefed against him because of mental health issues that he talked about on this show a couple of months ago. A young family member of his took his own life. It affected him. The government knew that, but when he turned against the government, they threw that back at him, which is utterly disgusting. Still the calls coming in about Rachel Reeves and the white van man reaction yesterday. Let's say good morning to Jay. Morning, Jay.
Jay's a fantastic show as always. Can I ask, why do they not have someone in power in Parliament who sets up something when, you know, the veterans leave the military, whether they've done 4 or 40 years or 20 years service or whatever they've done, that there's a guaranteed job scheme, you know, whether it be, you know, because they all get their driving licenses in there, whether it will be a HGV driver that we're, you know, at one point we were really short of, whether it's working on the railway tracks, whether it's security at airports. You know, there's so many opportunities where their skills could be put into place, you know, and I'm just at a point where I think, why is there no help there? I just don't get it. It's such a big life change. You're coming out of that regimental way of life, you know, you've got all your friends and support, and then you're thrown out into civilian world on your own with nothing. You know, there's got to be something put in place, and I hope someone like Reform or Restore do it.
I tell you something, on the back of that Rachel Reeves debacle yesterday, where white van man took her to task and shouted, you know, a few criticisms, and she went, "That's not very British, is it? Bad manners, not very British." We've been asking what is British. Well, Jay sums it up. I'll tell you what's British, shall I? Treating the people that fought for this country and donned a uniform in the right way. Apart from the fact that so many of them are psychologically affected by what they've seen and done and come out and don't get any support, and many end up homeless. Let's talk about the reality of the Troubles Bill. If there is one thing, and I will never stop talking about this, if there's one thing about this government that I think is beyond despicable, it's the Troubles Bill with that vile Hermer, what is he, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, who wants to prosecute men and women who put a uniform on years ago in Northern Ireland. I'm sure they did and saw and took part in stuff that now people would recoil at. But what a really good way is to allow them to just retire quietly, but just wait for the knock on the door, because we're going to prosecute you. At the same time, we're giving immunity to the IRA. Can we just have that out there? So you're going to prosecute Starmer and Hermer, are you? British veterans, but you're going to give immunity to the IRA. That's another thing that makes everybody with a brain cell that has 1 ounce of common sense in their head go, where does that come from? How does anybody expect that to be popular? We're going to absolutely crucify you for being a British soldier, but we're going to stick up for the IRA. I'm 60. The IRA used to blow people up. Can we have that out? Right? That doesn't mean they all did, but the fact of the matter is they were a terrorist organisation. But if you were in the army, you'll be probably put in the clink. That is what's wrong with this country. Tell you what do you think makes you good Britain? What is being British all about? I don't know. I mean, Christian doesn't know. His dad's Welsh. He says it's not camping. This isn't going away. I'm going glamping with my children in the bright sunshine. Christian thinks that this is worse than... What is there nothing in your life that's worse than the thought of going camping, Christian? Eating his wife's couscous. 8:30, back in 3.
Not wig.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk! Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air. Amelia Clark! Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1?
Exactly, that's true, yes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, welcome back, 8:33. You're with Talk. It is the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. And, of course, I've got to play it again because it's brilliant. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds. It's a rhyme. I can't even undo. Stop sending me dirty rhymes. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds to... You can send them in. There's a prize for the best one. Anyway, she went yesterday to announce that the government had scrapped its 5p hike in fuel duty. Hurrah, went everybody. And then the cynics went, how long's it going to be? Only 3 months? Is that because there's a by-election? She thought standing on a forecourt in Leeds was a good idea. White van man didn't. Have a watch, have a listen.
Keir Starmer, we're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party's useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
The news about the freezing future.
It's not very British, apparently. Morning, Jez. At some point, can we have a chat about this word nationalism? It's being used as a bad thing. Surely it's a love of country. Is that bad? Says Christine on the Isle of Wight. I love nationalism, says Sean from Bridlington. Streeting can do one. Can I say, if you are in show business and you get offered a summer season in Bridlington, it's all over. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Jez. Fuel in Weston-super-Mare is $1.90 per litre. Shocking. Great, thanks for that. Have you been to Weston-super-Mare, Big Dave, have you? Nice. How am I, Mr. Carl, says Jerry in Frome. Frome, do you know where Frome is? Somerset, nice. By the way, if you're in Somerset and you see grass in the middle of the road, it's not necessarily a dual carriageway. How am I, as a driving instructor, supposed to teach my students on a bicycle, or better yet, from home? Well, you won't be able to. You go out of business, which is exactly what you deserve under this Labour government, so stop being so selfish. Melanie's in Suffolk. Rachel Reeves talks of good manners, but all the new Labour voters that they keep importing don't seem to have any manners at all, especially when it comes to women. Julian's in Newport, is it? Really big in Wales this morning. Rachel from Complaints said after a manners quote, put that on telly. She obviously thought she did well. She's clearly a public relations disaster as well as an economically illiterate idiot. And I'd like to point out, Julian, that illiterate isn't spelt starting with an A, which actually in itself makes it even more funny. Gaz is in Southport. We're going north. Morning, Jess. Nothing wrong with glamping. Good quality walks in streams and woods. I went recently in Cheltenham. Good show. Keep up the satire. This is all started because seriously, Christian is honestly, he's putting pictures up. Have I got a camping buddy? Glamping's quite nice. It's going to be a nice with the kids for the week, but I'm being humiliated. Tommy looks like Tommy looks like I've declared war on Wales. Dave said, well, it's going to be a bit cold. Christian's just beside himself. Christian's shaking his head. Honestly, Vic, if you're listening, I'm getting slaughtered here because of glamping. Let's go to North Yorkshire. Alan, good morning, sir.
Good day, Jezza. First, I just shout out for your guys on the switchboard. They've been brilliantly courteous and polite. I think it's magic.
Fantastic. Anyway, what do you think of glamping, Al?
Glamping? I've never been out before. Glamping, when I was a kid, we used to go camping. We used to build our own wigwams, and we were allowed by our parents to go 2-3 miles from where we lived. There was
They think I've lost the plot because I'm going glamping with my kids.
No, it's the greatest thing in the world, mate.
Yeah, see, Christian, put that in your pipe and smoke it. What do you want to say, Al?
Right, I've got a couple of very quick points. Brilliant show. First of all, the irony of Rachel Reeves standing in a gas station, having put the petrol up by about, I don't know, 70, 80, 90p a litre, and says, we're going to give you 5p off. Hello?
Yeah.
Where's the win in that? And I tell you, if you could eat sincerity, she would die of starvation. She hasn't got a sincere bone in the whole of her body. And if you look at that ridiculous TikTok, whatever that is, by the way, I'm old enough to be your dad, Jeremy.
No, you're not. How old are you? How old are you?
I'm over 80.
Yeah, you are, you dirty git. You could be. My old man. Daddy! He's alive! Daddy's back! Daddy's been reincarnated. Can I just tell you, this is what you just said, right? Jay in Cambridgeshire, Rachel Reeves cancelling the fuel duty rise is like a mugger saying, I would have taken your wallet and watch, but I'm just going to let you keep your watch and then bugger off and expect praise from it. It's true. It's ludicrous. We're 80, on a serious note, genuinely serious note. You ever seen it like this? Ever thought it would get like this in our country?
I want to say something else. No, I haven't, is the short answer on that, first of all. Secondly, and I make no disrespectful respect to your daughter, but I've got a grandson the same age. And when you go to school these days, it seems, right?
Yeah.
When you do your history lessons, when you're 11 and 12 and you first go up to the senior school, you do the Tudor period and Henry VIII and his 6 wives. And then when you get to the 13, 14, you get the industrial age when Britain built everything in the world, the South African railways, the Indian railways, and the magnificent things we did all over the world. Now, this is the canny bit. When you get to the top of the tree, education, 16 years old, the history lessons are all about slave trading and what we did in those periods of times. And our kids leave school thinking about how wicked we all were. Are we really that wicked? Not once in the whole of my grandson's education was World War II ever. I was born just after World War II, and it's literally just after. And my father served. My grandfather served in the Great War and lost a leg. He gave a leg for a country. And they were heroes in my eyes, absolute heroes. And the kids today are not talked about. If it wasn't for my dad and granddad and the millions of other guys that gave their lives for this country, no, don't stop talking about the war. We need to talk about the war, because if we weren't, we wouldn't be marrying ladies these days. We'd be marrying Frauleins.
Thank you very much indeed. You're a good man. Can I say good morning to Rob in Newcastle, who's voiced something that several people have said. You'll have heard me say earlier that the jury in the Manchester Airport assault trial have been discharged after failing to reach a verdict. Mohammed Fahir Amaz and Mohammed Ahmad had denied assaulting Greater Manchester PC Zachary Marsden on the 23rd of July 24. We have to stress this. Whatever your thoughts about who might or might be responsible, and as Rob said, he would expect this to be on the front page of every newspaper and front and centre of every news show. The reason it cannot be is sub judice. The reason is that this is a case that's still active because we're told legally there could be a retrial. Trust me, Rob and others who have written, there are many things that many of us want to say on this story. It's certainly a view and a story that resonated with our listeners, but we are not legally at this moment able to. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's get a criminal defence lawyer on, Joseph Cottery Monson. Joseph, good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Explain to me why I can't talk about this case just quickly.
Well, rules on sub judice. We like the idea, don't we, that a jury won't be prejudiced and they go into a case with an open mind. Certainly if it was us, one of our nephews, a cousin, a friend from the pub who was on trial, we'd expect somebody to be able to be judged based on the facts, not based on what they've read. So for that, go on.
Is it surprising to you that based on the facts that this jury didn't reach a verdict?
Well, we could stray very easily, couldn't we? And I don't know if you're testing me there, Jeremy.
No, I'm not testing you at all.
Into evaluating the evidence.
Because somebody said to me, the reason for me asking this is, because I think somebody said earlier, there could be a retrial. Is it the third trial, or is there's been 2 trials already?
Yeah,
right?
that would be the third trial.
Has that happened before in history?
Oh, it definitely has, and I've had cases where it's happened only for the person to not be convicted on the third go, and what an onerous thing that is, to be not convicted of a crime but have to go through 3 trials. And for that reason, there are actually quite strict rules and guidance, both from the Court of Appeal predominantly, and the law says that the number of secondary trials that take place, so that's first jury, couldn't come to a verdict. A second jury, so that's the first retrial, couldn't come to a verdict. The number of times where somebody has to be on trial 3 times, or it can be done, should be limited to cases where the offence, the allegation is one of extreme gravity. We won't comment on this one here. It's a matter for the CPS, but we're talking GBH murders, very serious offences, and cases where the evidence by any fair-minded and objective judgment remains very powerful. And of course, one must think that in cases where a jury hasn't reached a verdict on 2 occasions, the possibility of the evidence remaining very powerful is quite limited, but you do get strange results.
That's what I meant when I said to you, I wasn't talking about the specific case. What I was saying to you was, are you surprised in terms of your experience in terms of the law that a trial for the second time nothing happened and it could be a third? That can't be common is what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah, I think that when you see for reasons that might be understandable and for reasons that might be disquieting, Jeremy, you are more likely to see the full effects of the system brought down on defendants, and just the way in which crimes against police officers are even investigated. Resources go into these things. Now, on the one hand, you can see that police officers do need to be protected because they're public servants, etc. The point at which there are secondary trials in circumstances where the jury clearly get access to everything, CCTV, etc. You know, these are cases which are properly investigated and properly shown.
And cost as well, you just said. I mean, I don't know how much a trial costs, but if there was a third, how much would that cost the British taxpayer?
It's £1 million. A proper case like this, you've got a long and relatively detailed trial where nothing is left to chance in respect of legal arguments. You've got King's Counsel barristers on all sides, junior barristers, you've got court time. There's a point at which any prosecutor, when considering retrial, must consider the cost as well. And on a secondary trial, well, I think those considerations will be even more pointed.
Listen, great to have you on, Joseph. Thank you. Criminal defence lawyer Joseph Cottery-Monson, just responding to a story that, as I said, lots and lots and lots and lots of you want to talk about and lots of you have an opinion about, but you have to understand this isn't me. This case is active. There could be, which is not very common, a third retrial for those 2 gentlemen who were accused at the Manchester airport. Assault Mohammed Fahir Amaz and Mohammed Ahmed, denied assault in Greater Manchester PC Zachary Monson on the 23rd of July 2024. Second trial a couple of days ago disbanded. The jury couldn't make a decision. Will there be a third retrial? Whenever this story comes to a close, trust me, you'll be able to have your say. Janice in Stoke-on-Trent. Jeremy, I always thought after trying it for one night, camping is brilliant, but after one night, having done it, if there's a hotel or a B&B or a car nearby, I'm not camping. I hated it. It was cold all night. Glamping, nah. So glamping is basically camping with a private bog. Yeah, well-ish. Yeah, but you know, yes, all right. Well, I'm looking for you miserable sods. Honestly, you're ruining it. My poor kids are like, Daddy, can we go camping? And you lot are like, where did that come from? Sounded like my 17-year-old. Am I going to a break or what? All right, Christian's in charge. We're going to back in 3 years. Is it all right?
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 10 to 9. We're live across the UK. Yeah, Julie here from 10, Ian Collins from 1, and Kev O'Sullivan on Drive from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Keep your calls coming, 0344 499 1000. Your text as well. Headley, good morning. On the video of Rachel from accounts at the petrol station, she talks about good manners. Was she thinking of Big Ange when she said it? Keep up the good work. Oh, God. Taking the family camping? Maybe we need a GoFund page to help you. It's fine. I'm all right. Steve, Jez, every week when I fuel up my work van, I'm putting about 60 quid straight into the government's coffers. Now the Muppets want a pat on the back for not charging me another 65 quid in Completely agree with you. There once was a Chancellor Reeves who tucked taxes galore up her sleeves. When the man in the van shouted, "Farrow's our man," she picks up a toy and she leaves. Very good, I like that. Jez, being British for me growing up... Oh, sorry. Right, let me just tell you this. This is brilliant. I'm going to do this because I was going to do it some time ago. One of my best friends in the world, who's retired, spent about a week recently filling up the Panini World Cup soccer sticker book. It's got about 1,200 stickers, and he's only one short. There's a reason behind this, and he's got lots of swapsies. He's got about 1,000 of them. Swapsies. And he said to me, what am I going to do with them? I said, well, you can't take them to a school playground, can you? You're 64, man. That's not going to be good. So... he says Oliver can have them, and I've left them in Newcastle, so now I've messed up again, so I'll have to go back. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Morning, Carl.
Morning, Jezza. Great show, as per usual. Jezza, would there be anything stopping the government from bringing in their own fuel supply from the North Sea? Because we hear about Ed Miliband always talking about being on the international markets and whatnot. Could they not drill their own oil, refine it themselves, sell it exclusively to the UK on their own market, therefore controlling the price for themselves at a lower cost to all us users in the UK? Is that not a possibility?
Carl, don't be so utterly stupid. How would anything so based on common sense, fiscal responsibility and economically is prudent, how's that going to happen under this? That'd be ridiculous. What, drill our own oil? In our own oil fields? Not imported at extra cost? Make what we need to make it better for... No, listen, you need to stay off the radio or the television or the phone line or anything to do with politics. Imagine Carl, some stupid idea that was, wasn't it? Yeah, 0344... Oh, this isn't great. 0344 499 1000. Daryl's in Cumbria. There once was an angry bloke named Carl. I'm not angry! There once was an angry bloke named Carl who arrived at a campground with a smug little smile, but the yurt had no plugs and the loo teemed with slugs, so Jez cried all night outside. He moaned, where's the room service tray, and why does this sheep smell this way? When the firewood got damp, he declared, this ain't glamp. Great. Well, I think all I'm going to say to you, Daryl in Cumbria, is... I hope my glamping's more successful than your poetry, which is crap. 0344 499 1000. Play that football sting, please. In your own time.
Minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Getting slaughtered about the glamping. A very good morning to The Sun's football writer. We're going to have a wonderful conversation here. He's going to take the mickey. Martin Blackburn, good morning.
Good morning, Jez. How are you doing?
Well, countdown to the biggest match of my my life on Sunday. I thought West Ham were utterly appalling against the Toon. I was up at the Toon the last couple of days. Awful. Lacking anything. Deserved to lose, and I thought we were down. But then I spent most of Tuesday night cheering on Chelsea, who then did Spurs, so it goes down to the last day, my friend.
It does, yes. I mean, that's going to be where most of the eyes are really on Sunday, Jeremy, because of course Arsenal have won the league now, so a few people might tune into Pep Guardiola's farewell, but yeah, all eyes on the bottom really, because Spurs need a point, don't they, against Everton?
Just very quickly, they've got Everton at home. They've got an appalling home record. They've only won once since December. Everton want to get as high up the table, obviously, as possible. Yeah. And David Moyes used to be the West Ham manager, and we've got Leeds, so I'm hoping are on the beach. How do you see it going?
Yeah, well, as you know, Everton, Jeremy, they had a big say in the title race. Of course, they got that draw against Man City, didn't they? So they've sort of upset the apple cart before. So if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be hopeful, but probably not confident. I think, you know. So
I think that's absolutely right. They need to go and play bloody football and not mess around. Last night, Aston Villa, tremendous success, Europa League, Prince William there, and Unai Emery. Is he getting the plaudits he deserves? He's won it 5 times, man.
5 times, Jeremy, and you know, that's Aston Villa's first major trophy in 30 years, believe it or not. So amazing night for them in Istanbul. You know, the pictures, the goals that they scored, fantastic night. Unai Emery, that's his competition, really. He's won it 5 times now, I think, you know, so that puts him up there alongside some of the real heavyweights of management in Europe, you know. So Carlo Ancelotti and others who've won 5 European trophies. He's never won the big one, the Champions League. But
think he'll stay there, or do you think he'll go to a bigger club?
Again, I mean, you know, Villa, there's still a project to be done there. You know, he's got him back into the Champions League now, both through the league and through winning the Europa League. So there's it will undoubtedly have admirers, Jeremy, across Europe. But Villa fans will be hoping that he stays. It's not actually been a brilliant season for Villa. No, they started it off very badly, but it's ending really well for them.
And finally, look, begrudgingly, I'm actually quite pleased that Arsenal won the Premier League. Great effort. It's taken 6 years and 3 second places. A sort of outpouring. I was coming back from the train from Newcastle eventually yesterday, and I passed the Emirates Stadium, and there were still people, thousands hanging outside in their shirts. Big moment for Arsenal fans, right?
Really big moment, Jeremy. Yeah, I mean, it's 22 years since they last done it. You know, it was this. They've been dining out on that invincible season back in 2004 for a long time. Finally, they've done it. You know, whether you like the way that they've played, you know, the sort of set piece FC, whether you sort of think that they're great champions or not, I think that's irrelevant, really. You know, Mikel Arteta had to come and find a way to start winning.
I thought it was this season or never for him. I felt like he had to win something.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they were to blow this and the Champions League and win nothing again, with City having won both the domestic cups, you know, he might have struggled to explain that one away. So, yeah, you'll see on the back of the paper today, Jeremy, as well, there's a story about him possibly getting a new contract, and I think he deserved it.
Before you go, Top Man and Sun Sports got it all. Miracle of Aston Bull, very clever.
Yeah.
Who stays up, Spurs or West Ham, Martin Blackburn? No need to make me feel good. I think Spurs are the big favourites.
I think you're right, Jeremy. But, you know, last day, strange things happen on the last day. You know, Guardiola was talking at the other end of the table about if you can take it to the last day in terms of the title race, you never know what can happen. So the same thing applies at the bottom, Jeremy, and you've got to keep the faith.
Good man. Thank you, Martin Blackburn from The Sun. This is Talk Breakfast. News at 9 next.
not a wig.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk!
Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air.
Amelia Clark!
Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell
Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1.
Exactly, that's true, yes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's gone 9 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. This is Jeremy Kyle on Breakfast. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to be part of us for the next hour, ahead of Julia, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. I just happened to mention I'm taking my kids glamping last week, and cue mass hysteria in this building and outside. I feel like I'm there already. Thank you to Andy for this picture. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to put this up. It's my next series, Kyle on glamping. Great. It'll be nice. It's just about the kids. It's about weather. Don't get yourselves wound up. Carl Turner on the way. Isabel Oakeshott on the way. We played this clip all morning, which has annoyed so many people, which is great. Yesterday, the government announced, we're scrapping the 5p hike on fuel duty. We've listened to the Sun newspaper, and we've listened to the Tory party, and we've listened to everybody who said it was rubbish. And they dispatched our Rachel Reeves. They dispatched her to Leeds to make an announcement, whereupon she was heckled by White Van Man, who's not answering his phone, which is winding me up. Anyway, play it again, because people love it. Por favor.
We're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party is useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
The news about the freezing future.
So there she was. Not very British, bad manners. And I just happened earlier to say there was a young lady called Reeves who went to visit Leeds, from which point it's gone mad. Mark in Staffordshire needs a hand. Work it out. He says, I'm lying here naked in bed. Can anybody help? I'm wanting to join in with the poems, but I'm struggling, really struggling, to find a word that rhymes with by-election. Morning, Greavesy.
Hello, Jeremy. It's Stephen in Newcastle. So Rachel Reeves went to Leeds to stand on the garage forecourt. A man with a flag in his big white van told her exactly what he thought. Her face was a picture, her voice was a mess. To ruining this country, she will never, ever, ever confess. Good morning, Jeremy.
That was quite tame. Let's say a very good morning to a man who, genuinely, I know, has Labour values at his heart. Since I put him on this show, he's stood up to Starmer, been suspended from the Labour Party, gone on Have I Got News For You, and now is doing a travel programme somewhere across Europe. I made him, and he still deigns to talk to me. Carl Turner, Independent MP for Hull East. How are you, son?
Good morning, Jeremy. It's always a pleasure to be with you, no matter where I am in the world.
Where are you? Honestly, he's changed. He's got an agent now. Where are you now?
I'm in a little B&B in Corfu in a beautiful village called Agideka, which is very affordable and very pleasant indeed.
He's trying to make... You see what happens with the Labour lot? He's still pretending to keep his roots. I'm in a B&B. It's very cheap. It's been flown there in a private jet, ladies and gentlemen, and he's filming there, and then he's going back to his suite. Carl, I want to talk about this seriously, because this... I want to talk about Reeves, and then I want to talk about you yesterday, but I firstly want your response to that. Somebody who gets really... Those sorts of people get really hackled, don't they? Dame Emily Thornberry. That guy that attacked Rachel Reeves yesterday, I would suspect you would agree, speaks for millions of working men and women across this country and how they feel about your... Well, not now, but the Labour government right now, pal.
I think that's fair. There's an awful lot of frustration in the electorate. I think that people expect better from a Labour government. We went into power in 24 promising to improve their lot, and unfortunately things haven't improved anything like enough to satisfy people. So people are frustrated. That guy will be grafting hard for a living. He sees costs going up on his business if he's self-employed, business rates, insurance on his motor vehicles, and the price of petrol or diesel at the pump. And really, it's, you know, it speaks to the fact that we've just not got a grip of things enough yet.
And what's really interesting when you say a grip of things, I saw you earlier in the week, or maybe last week, talking about, you know, the ridiculous decision to cancel jury trials. And I know how passionate you are about that. And we've talked in the past about the pensioners. What a ludicrous suggestion. Attacking farmers, ludicrous. All these sorts of things. And it strikes me, you know, OK, so yesterday they announced a scrapping of the 5p hike in fuel duty. Why in the name of God did anybody anywhere near this government think that that wasn't going to go down like a cup of cold sick? And you know, when we strip it down, it's for 3 months, and the cynics are going, oh, that's just because of a by-election. I think it's really interesting that they seem to be able, this government, to be moved, whether it's by their own backbench MPs or campaigns. The Sun did a campaign about the fuel hike, and that doesn't say anything about conviction or a plan, does it?
Well, I agree with some of that, Jeremy. It pains me to have to say it, but I do. I think we need to do an awful lot more, a lot faster. The reality is we're taking in a fairly substantial VAT take from the fact that petrol at the pump's going up. The price of oil has increased fairly dramatically since the more recent conflict in Iran, and the tax take is bigger. We need to do something with that, in my view. The government say, of course, listen, when people are spending more at the petrol pump or on energy, any fuel, they're spending an awful lot less in the economy. Therefore, the VAT take is not actually increasing net. It's about the same as what it would have always been. I don't know if that argument is correct. I'm not an economist, but that's the defence they put to you. I think we could do a lot more, and I think Rachel will do more. But incidentally, she's in Leeds because that's a constituency. And
Oh, I
she's
know
then
that. I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed. Let me talk about your story, buddy. You came on this show about 6 weeks ago and talked very candidly about how you've been treated by Number 10. And I didn't disclose that. I didn't talk about it. You talked about it on air. You talked about how a young member of your family came to live with you and your wife in London. He had some issues, and in the end, he took it, I believe, if I'm right, took his own life, and that affected you. And you were very honest with the party machine at that point. But when you came a year later to disagree with Starmer, certainly on jury trials and on the heating thing, you said that you were briefed against by Number 10. And they used your mental health issue as a weapon to hit you over there, which is utterly appalling by anybody's standards. And then yesterday we discovered that Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds has told you never to contact him again. We said the text earlier, you made it public. How have they got the front with all that they talk about in terms of, I mean, we have the working people, well, you've screwed the economy, and they talk about, we shouldn't be divisive and we should be caring and we should be sharing. And they do that to one of their own elected representatives, Carl Turner?
Yeah, just to be clear about it, my nephew took his own life about 10 years ago, in truth, but my mental health suffered a lot at the time, and I sought advice and support and help from the health and well-being back then. And there was a time where I had to stay in a hospital in Hull because I was just very ill and I needed to be in hospital. I was truly incredibly unwell. I wasn't sectioned, but I needed to be in there, having, if I'm honest with you, attempted to take my life. And it was very dramatic for the family and put strain on the family, as you would expect.
Of course.
But I got better. A couple of sort of 15, 18 months ago, I was under the cosh again. And I sought support from Health and Wellbeing. And I'm convinced that the Number 10 Downing Street briefed against me. Why? Because journalists were coming to me, incredibly well-regarded journalists, editors. I'm not talking about reporters on some sort of paper that's not very impressive. I'm talking about incredibly senior journalists, editors of newspapers, and asking me directly whether, in fact, I was ill because they were being briefed to take no notice of what Carl Turner was saying on juries because Carl Turner is mentally unstable. Wow. I'm not going to say who, Jeremy, but very senior people in the Conservative Party. And when I say very senior, I'm talking, nearly as senior as it possibly gets, coming to me saying that she was briefed by the people in the Whip's office that I was mental and I needed to be ignored and that they shouldn't be supporting my objection to jury trial curtailment because actually Carl was mentally unstable, I think was the turn of phrase. I wasn't unwell. I didn't feel unwell at that time, but I still am under a psychiatrist. If I needed support, he will be there. And I'm on medication. I'm on an antidepressant, but it's been reduced substantially from what I started on 15 months ago. So I feel strong. But the message for me yesterday was to put a serious message out there to say, look, if we really do believe in good mental health in the Labour Party, and we have ministers coming out last week in the Mental Health Awareness Week and speaking with real compassion, these people, including the Prime Minister and Chief Whip, need to reflect on the stuff that they know I have alleged has happened to me. Now, neither of them have come back to me to say that that's going to be investigated. One example I'll give you, which I've spoken to the Chief Whip about, is when he was required to speak to me about my so-called poor conduct, which was my opposition to jury trials, I was receiving text messages from journalists whilst we were on the phone, which was saying, we are now being briefed that you've been suspended. I'd not been suspended. The Chief Whip was ringing me to have a discussion with me, not to suspend me, but it was clear that Number 10 were briefing I was about to be suspended, and Johnny Reynolds, for whatever reason, decided not to suspend me, just to warn me. But the stuff they were talking about was just made up. It was fabricated. I've not had any disagreement with any colleague in Parliament, apart from the public ones where I've said the plan is ludicrous. And there's this alleged my conduct being horrible to people is just made up. It's not true. Find me the person who says I've been horrible to them and I'll speak to them about it. But it's not true. It's just about smearing someone on the basis that they think if they can put pressure on an individual like me, I'm going to give in with my opposition to jury trial curtailment. I'm going to go away, lick my wounds and wished I'd never been born. That can't happen to me, Jeremy. I'm a criminal lawyer by profession. I was charged with handling stolen goods. The judge who became a close friend of mine is Honour Judge Tom Cracknell, who's now passed away, bless his cons, but I'm in touch with his daughter. Her and I have become friends. He would have sent me to prison if he was trying me without a jury. Because when the prosecution threw the towel in and said, Your Honour, there is no evidence to prosecute this case, this effectively saying this defendant should only have ever been a witness. That's as much it should have got to. But when I was told I was free to leave court, His Honour Judge Tom Cracknell said, there's no smoke without fire, be more careful in future. That suggests to me it was a gentleman, Tom Cracknell, a wonderful, incredibly impressive judge, and a brilliant practitioner when he was a practitioner at the criminal bar. His attitude was, no smoke without fire. That suggests to me that the judiciary are not best placed to decide the fate of those who are accused of serious crimes. And the irony, which I mentioned in Parliament yesterday, is our leader, Keir Starmer, the human rights lawyer, campaigned between 1997 right up to, I think, 2007, to scrap single judge trials in Northern Ireland.
He did.
Because they were proven to be unjust. Now, just bearing this in mind, Jeremy, those trials we're talking about in Northern Ireland, the Diplock courts, are trying serious terrorism offences. So the Prime Minister thinks those accused of terrorism deserve a jury. The reality is, if you're accused of something, you should be entitled to get the Crown to prove it before a jury of 12 men and women, good and true. Ordinary folk, you could be on the jury, could be me on the jury, could be a dentist doctor, could be some grass getting on a bike in the morning and pedaling to the factory. It's everyday people who are selected at random to decide whether you or me or our kids are guilty of what the Crown has accused them of. And I think that's a terrible mistake. And regrettably, my opposition to it was far too vocal and far too effective, because we ended up with 92 abstentions, at which point they suspended me to give a warning to the PLP. If you carry on abstaining or voting against, you'll get what's happened to Turner. That's the truth.
What's so appalling from my point of view, and I know the signal's not great at the moment, is that, as I said to you, a party that purports to care about anybody and everybody, a party that says we're for working people, we're for this, we're for that. What an appalling way to treat one's own. Can I just ask you, in terms of yesterday, when actually, can I play that clip, because we go back to the mental health, and I want to ask you about Starmer in a sec. We talk about Judah. Can you play that clip for me, please, Big Dave?
I received hostile briefings and smears about my mental health from the lads in Number 10 Downing Street. The Chief Whip's shaking his head, but he knows about it, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister knows that my nephew Matty took his own life as a result of work-related stress as a young criminal lawyer. So during Mental Health Awareness Week, while ministers spoke with compassion about health and well-being, did the Prime Minister reflect on those hostile, discriminatory briefings which he knew about and he allowed to happen?
Can I thank him? And he has told me previously about Matty and the impact that had on him, I totally understand that, and I want to be absolutely clear that nobody should be smeared in relation to mental health. Nobody on any issue, whatever they may argue on any other issue. Nobody, and I will do everything I can to make sure that that is the position.
Carl, were you satisfied with the Prime Minister's response?
Well, look, I want the Prime Minister to go away and have an inquiry amongst his people in Number 10. He knows it's true. I've written to him. My solicitors wrote to the Chief Whip on the 12th of January. The reply, if I remember rightly, that came back was, look, we're not capable of controlling everybody. In other words, if there are briefings and smears, you need to identify who they are, because we can't deal with them if we don't know who they are. Now, how can I know they are? I've just got journalists ringing. And one thing about journalists is they don't really reveal their source.
No.
But when it's more than one journalist, and when it's editors of newspapers ringing me, it becomes apparent to me that it's happening.
And do you know what's really interesting for me, if I can just jump in? If I can just jump in, do you know what's really interesting for me? And I was very vocal in my support, and then I backtracked. I realised the mistakes he's made. Do you remember when Johnson was under the cosh, and all we heard about from the Labour Party, from Keir Starmer in particular, you're the main man, you're in charge. Even if you didn't know these parties were going on, you should have been all over it. You ran the prosecution office. You're in charge of government, you should know. It's exactly the same fact here, Carl. Cannot whitewash this disgusting way to treat anybody who's gone through those issues. And you know what we think about you on this show. You're honest, and, you know, that goes a long, long way. Do you think... Can you see, just talking briefly about Makerfield and Andy Burnham and the election that's definitely going to happen in terms of the leadership, can you see a new broom welcoming you back, or do you feel sometimes the more you see, the more you believe that you and the Labour Party are done for good?
I think the new leader, whether it's Wes Streeting, Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner, all of the ones who have been talked about, would have me back in an heartbeat. I mean, I'll be fair about Wes Streeting. I forwarded my solicitor's letter to every single cabinet member. Wes Streeting, I wouldn't support Wes, by the way, Jeremy. He's not my cup of tea as leader. But he was the person who immediately contacted me and said, this is just not good enough. I'm going to raise it with the Chief Whip, and I'm going to raise it with the Prime Minister. Now, that's a cabinet member at the time. And since then, Wes Streeting has messaged me, not once or twice, several times, just saying, mate, how are you getting on? Are you all right? Now, he knows, Jeremy, I'm not going to be his number one fan in any contest. I've told him to his face I wouldn't support Wes, but I'll tell you something, I could live with him as being leader because I know he's a decent, kind, compassionate individual who thought what was happening to me was an absolute disgrace.
Couldn't agree more, Carl. Listen, we're always here for you, mate. We really appreciate anything. Enjoy the filming of the travel show somewhere in wherever he's doing. He's having a life, old Carl Turner.
Can I just say, Jeremy, I'm a massive camping fan.
Oh, sorry, bring him back. You're a what? You're a yeah. So I'm getting slaughtered. I'm getting slaughtered here because I mentioned lovely weather next week, heat wave on the way. I'm taking the kids glamping. They love it for half term. Have I had the mickey taken or what? What's wrong with these people?
It's fantastic, Jeremy. We've got a 1982 Transit minibus convert, and we just love to get out there in the sticks. My little girl has the best time on that just basic, lovely camping trip. And we have a great time as a family. We come home stinking and need a good shower, but it's worth doing because it just is out in nature. I love it.
I've got don't go to. I've got a voice note. Wayne, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. Do you want my opinion on glamping, mate? It's what rich people do
to try and make themselves feel common, because they couldn't live in a caravan and they couldn't have a proper tent in holiday because it's just a bit grim. Whereas glamping, they get the luxuries and amenities of a hotel and feel like they're one with nature and one with the common man. Jezza, you've sold out, my friend.
I've got to say about Wayne, see, the missus has got 3 tents, right? She'd go and do the whole, like, in a field, cow could fall on you in the middle of the night, you know, freezing. Glamping's as far... I think Wayne's spot on. I'm a complete fraud. I wouldn't go proper camping. I mean, this is bad enough. I've got long johns, mate. It's going to be a heat wave. He's gone. Carl, you're a man. Good man, good man, good man. Thank you very much indeed. 9:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. On a serious note, what the Labour Party did to him with everything he's gone through, whatever your politics, that's disgusting. If anyone, you yourself or anyone listening is affected by the issues that we just discussed, please check out talk.tv/helplines. All that you need there, talk.tv/helplines. If the conversation about your mental health, you could resonate with that, you have concerns, that's a fantastic thing. Talk.tv/helplines, 9:25. We're back with Isabel Oakeshott next on Talk Breakfast.
Not wig.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk!
Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air.
Amelia Clark! Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1.
Exactly, that's true, yes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:20 at 0344 499 1000. This camping thing's gone crazy. Didn't I have a lovely time though? Honestly, everything's fine with me fag and me wine and all for £100, you know. Thank you very much, Pete in Shrewsbury. Reg says, Jez, when it comes to camping, I think I'd rather beep in my own hand and clap. Fantastic. James, it's not glamorous. No, fine. Hold on a second. What am I doing? Oh, yes. Isabella. Oh, no, Debbie, play. Good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Debbie from Bedford. Do you know, I'm just watching the interview with yourself and Cole Turner. I think it's absolutely disgusting about bringing up his mental health. People in my own family with mental health use enough. Doing what they're doing, they push him over the edge. And to try and turn people against him, he should never have been suspended in the first place.
I couldn't agree more. 9:30. Keep those coming. 0344 499 1000. We'll say a very good morning to Talk's international editor. And we will start, Isabel Oakeshott, in a way that you never thought I'd start. First of all, good morning.
Morning.
Have you ever been, would you ever want to go glamping?
I have actually. Oh my God.
That's the new programme.
Shall I send you a picture of me glamping?
Yes, please.
You can put it on later. It might even contain a picture of the Tice man glamping.
See? Now they're going to say, you're only glamping because reform of glamping. Is it all a big reform? Yeah, we're all going glamping. Everybody's going. No, the thing is, Isabel, you've got kids. Christian looks like I've seriously committed a murder this morning. He's like, oh, my God, no. There's no radiators or couscous or any of that crap. My kids love it. Fire pit, 3 big glamping tents, lots of wine. Marvellous.
Yeah, well, I think it's to be done in limited quantities. I have to say I had some difficulty persuading Richard that we were going to stay in something known as a tent.
Yes.
But actually, it wasn't really at all like a tent, and it was a bit of a cheat, really.
Yeah.
But here's another thing you don't know about me, Jezza, which is that I used to be, when I lived in Scotland as a teenager, I used to be in the mountain rescue team.
This is brilliant.
I climb mountains. I stay in tents. Who knew?
This is like Vic. Vic, if you're on a desert island with a penknife, honestly, I'm not even allowed to do it on the road. This woman could survive. She's unbelievable. By the time I sort of stick my head above the duvet of a morning, the fire's on. Honestly, I said to her, "Why are we going to do washing?" She went, "You're an idiot." And then she makes tea and everything. She loves it, chops firewood. Women are far more practical than men, aren't they, to be fair? Let's be honest. I can't imagine Tice camping there. I can imagine him in sort of... in a pith helmet and khaki shorts sat there.
just the outfit, nothing more, really.
Absolutely. We've got to go to the main... I mean, lots of people are talking about, the seriousness of it. Of course, the scrapping of the planned 5p hike in fuel duty, although happily sort of received by people, very cynically, a lot of people quite rightly saying, it was only for 3 months, there's a by-election happening, this is a complete con. It's just seeing her face when she got heckled by a white van man, a man with a Union Jack on his van, a man who works alarm clock Brit and pays a lot of tax so that people can sit on benefits who don't deserve it. And she looked genuinely shocked by that, Rachel Reeves, and said, well, that's not very British, Isabel.
Well, as I said to Peter last night, I mean, much of what this government is doing is not very British at all, including failing to prioritise the British people when it comes to the allocation of public services. That's not very British, is it? Yeah. I mean, I thought that she responded in quite a dignified, unflustered way to what was a complete PR disaster. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. Out of all the cars that were going to go past, were they all going to be clapping and cheering for Rachel Reeves and this government? I don't think so.
You say it was dignified, but I thought it showed a complete lack of being able to have a sense of humour. A man I'd have gone, you won't be voting for me then, fair enough, or something, just a little bit more.
She could. You're right. She could have made a laugh of it, couldn't she? She could actually have turned it properly to her advantage, going, oh, wow, whose idea was this? Make a right laugh of it. And I think that would have really gone viral.
And it's quite interesting that it's the first time we've seen her for weeks and weeks, right? And I'm a cynic, so I know why that is, because all the cabinet are running around, desperately trying to be seen and to be heard in case What's-His-Chops wins in Makerfield, Burnham, and they're all looking for a new job. Now, you would understand when it gets nearer with that local by-election on June the 18th in Makerfield that we have to be very careful, but at the moment not all the candidates are mentioned. I wanted to touch upon, honestly, we couldn't get him on, but it's my favourite thing ever. Have you read the article in the Mail this morning about the Mail journalist who followed Mr Farage and Mr Kenyon as they went round Makerfield? Have you heard this story?
No, I haven't actually. I have to bring me up to speed on this.
This is brilliant. So, what's the journalist called? Because I can't find the page. Christian Calgie in the Mail decides to hot-foot it to Makerfield as Nigel Farage in a pair of corduroy trousers is sitting in a plumbing van. I don't want Andy Burnham on the screen right now, thanks. With Kenyon, the Reform candidate. And he's going to take him round his local area. So he takes him to the lake where he goes fishing. He takes him all over the place and shows him the places that he knows. Why have I got Burnham on the screen? He then takes him to a cafe, Isabel, for a bacon sarnie at whatever time. And they're sitting there. And Calgie is with them, and suddenly word comes through that Burnham is literally at the other side of the wall because they've got a gazebo, this cafe, and he's sitting there talking to 4 school kids about, I think, special needs provision in the constituency, something important. So Calgie goes outside as Burnham starts to walk off and says, you know, and he starts on him. He gets really, really stroppy with him. You shouldn't be here. This isn't the way politics. This is disgusting. Goes storming off down the street. So Calgie shouts out, "How do you do agree then that a woman can have a penis?" And he lost it big time, massively big time, which I think is brilliant. I think it's a story that needs to be told, to be honest.
But it's not on film, sadly.
A little bit of it is. Yeah, it's all over the Mail. It's quite a story.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. That sounds really funny.
Where do you see? Do you see this constituency and this result as a seminal moment in British politics?
I think it is a very important one indeed. Now, you said we've got to be careful, and you're right about not in any way, you know, giving publicity to one side or another, and there's more than 2 sides in this contest.
Absolutely.
But it's no secret that clearly Reform hopes to win this seat and thinks that given the result in the last general election, they have a really good chance. And there will be all sorts of other parties that are trying to contest it, including the Conservatives, even though there are senior figures within the Conservative Party who actually feel that the Conservatives shouldn't campaign really at all and just basically have a paper candidate. But really, we all know that the big fight is between Reform and the Labour Party. And Andy Burnham has gambled everything. He's staked everything on winning this seat and then coming down to Westminster and trying to become the Prime Minister. And if he loses, then that's him finished, really. And it might even mean that Keir Starmer survives.
So we have a scenario. As I said the other day, which is still beyond me, where in Gorton and Denton, the Reform campaign slogan was, "Vote Reform, get Starmer out." And we've now got an election in Makerfield on June the 18th, where the Labour slogan is, "Vote Labour, get Starmer out." That's how messed up this is, right?
I think there's a common theme here, which is get Starmer out, basically. It's by no means an easy task for either of those big parties right now. I mean, I wonder whether Reform needs to start managing expectations. It's always a difficult thing as a party, because you want to be upbeat and excited and optimistic, and all the kind of feedback from the doors, knocking on people's doors or being on the streets, has been very positive. But at the same time, you know, I think it's important to acknowledge that this is a real challenge, you know, for Reform, for the candidate up there. And if they don't succeed, I don't think too much should be read into it in terms of national performance, because by-elections are weird like that. And
but also, I wanted to talk about... No, I get that. But you said it's not just 2. Here's a question for you. You'd know this. The Greens, Hannah Spencer, of course, another plumber, got elected in Gorton and Denton. Have they... I mean, it's the same sort of area with respect. Why isn't there a prevalence... I mean, are the Greens involved here? You talked about the Tories, Liberal Democrats maybe, but are the Greens not fielding? Are they not popular in that constituency?
Well, I don't think they are particularly popular in that constituency because of the demographic there. Right. You know, that was a very Leave voting constituency. It is quite white, working class. I won't go into more detail on that, because I don't know about individual bits of the constituency and whether there might be more Green support in some of those pockets. But I think Zach Polansky probably deservedly feeling pretty bruised about the charlatan that he's exposed as being in the last couple of weeks. So much.
That's not going anywhere, by the way. Let me tell you, there's a load more on that. I'm convinced that, I mean, the Mail, I think, have done a fantastic job. Do you know, when people say to me, oh, I'm not supporting anybody when I say this, I cannot believe that 18% of this country could be hoodwinked into thinking it's all right to vote for a party and a man that wants to legalise heroin. It's beyond my... I don't even... It does not in my head, and I don't care what they write about him, because if he's the answer to politics, I'm not even... It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, what I want to say to that is that when my colleague and researcher, Christian, was up in the constituency on Friday, we actually had a lovely conversation with a young woman, I guess she was about 19 or 20, in Makerfield. And she clearly had no idea what the by-election was, what voting is, how to vote, or anything about any political parties. And she actually wanted to be filmed, and we've got that clip and we can share it with you. And I thought it was such a damning indictment on our education system. You know, she just didn't have a clue, bless her. She was so sweet, but it's not her fault that she had no idea about how our democracy works.
Practical education, I am so with you. There's so much that we should... I mean, that would be an absolutely obvious thing to do. Teach your kids everyday things. Can I just tell you that having had a conversation with you, you wonderful person, about camping, and you've said that you like glamping and that you dragged the Tice man along, Jay says, Jezza, just face up to it, you're a Richard Tice glamping wannabe.
I don't think even Richard Tice is a glamping wannabe. I think he was a bit dragged there. And when I send you the picture, you will see that it was a proper cheat. I mean, it was even more...
So's mine going to be. I booked 5 gastro pubs for every evening, but I mean, we are sleeping outside, and, you know, stop frowning, Christian. Isabel, thank you so much as ever. Love to get that stuff on that lady, actually. That will be really good to play on the show, if that's all right. Fantastic. Isabel Oakeshott, thank you. 20 to 9. Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun, on the way. Morning, Paul.
Hi, Paul from Bristol here. Rachel Reeves went to Leeds to tell us what needed to be heard, but nobody took her seriously because she looks like Richard III.
That is brilliant, and I'm just so... I didn't think he was going to say Richard III. I thought there was going to be another word. Lemon curd. Back in 3. Cheers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 9:45 almost. Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10. Listen, let's go back. It all started this morning. Well, yesterday it started with the government announcing this scrapping of the 5p hike in fuel duty. They sent Rachel Reeves to a constituency in Leeds. She stood in front of a petrol station and said, "Oh, we're going to help." It didn't sound like that at all. And got absolutely heckled to hell by a white van man. Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun, you were there.
I was there. It was brilliant to watch a proper battle fight between the two of them. And it came out of nowhere, really. We were just about to do an interview with her. She was standing there in the forecourt, and this guy just comes up, and as he's about to fill up with petrol, he goes at her for the first time. Then he goes in to pay for the petrol, has another go at her and then he goes back to his van, has another go at her, and as he drives off, he then decides to, go for it and then say, "Look, I've got 2 flags and I'm British."
You're going to arrest me, yeah?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it was, I think she'd lost her patience by that point because she was doing a couple of interviews and they had to be replayed and re-asked the questions. And I think at that point, when he was driving off, she said, talked about manners and being British.
Well, we're talking about British in a minute. Let's just see your interview. This was you interviewing Rachel. Was this before or after?
So this was after that.
Oh, here we go. Have a listen. Have a watch.
Comes to Andy Burnham and the by-election, will you campaign for him, and would you accept any job in the future government that he has, possibly?
I'm absolutely backing Andy Burnham in the campaign in Makerfield. He's been a great mayor. He wants to return to Parliament, and we've got to do everything we can to beat reform in this by-election. So, yes, I'll be campaigning for Andy in Makerfield.
And is there concern if he doesn't beat reform, the sort of wider political picture?
But we saw in the local election results just a couple of weeks ago the threat that reform poses. But we're talking at the moment about helping people with the cost of living.
I know you have to be balanced. I try. I just don't buy any of them. How unauthentic is she?
Well, I think the trouble is she gave as good as she got yesterday, I think.
Did she?
I think, yeah. I mean,
couldn't she made a joke of it and gone, "Well, you're not going to vote for me, mate, are you?" Wouldn't that have been more
it would probably have been a little bit better. But she, in terms of the British thing, I think it was probably the politest comeback she could probably come back with.
But let me ask you, as a respected journalist, what does being British mean to you?
But, country... No, so many things going through my mind, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, you get 30 seconds, because we had a voice note in the first hour this morning, which I want to play now, because this sums up why I do this job. This is Rob. Some of you might disagree with this. He says this is what being British is. Have a listen. Eventually.
Morning, Jez. Great show as always. Rob, on the way to work. She wants to know what being British is about. I'll tell you what being British is about. It's all them blokes who stood on beaches 80 years ago, mate, stopping people invading this country and fighting for everything they love for. Only a generation or two later to watch her and her ilk give this country away to people. Is that British? No. Watching veterans sleep in shop doorways while illegal immigrants get given 4-star hotels. Is that British? No. Watching girls get raped on a production line. Is that British? No. I could go on all day, but I don't want to because now I'm getting pretty angry. Labour, out!
He was quite angry, but you understand it.
Yeah, totally. And
I totally get that, man.
And that was the same vein as the heckler that we saw yesterday, and there's that frustration of how the country that they grew up in, the country they think they're living in, has totally changed. And in some parts of the country has changed beyond all recognition, whether it's to do with immigration, look at the cost of living, living standards over the last 20 years. People are struggling.
I look around this country and I think about the cost of food, right? And I think about the cost of energy. And then I think about how you can go into a shop and nick 200 quid and nobody do anything. There's no police on the streets. We've got absolutely no military. Our borders are open. We've got high unemployment amongst youth. We've got 8 million on benefits, a benefits bill that outweighs the tax that we get from people working. We've got ideology in schools. We've got people who make excuses for the perpetrators of crime and the victims. Nothing happens. We can't even get our head out of our backside and have a national grooming gang inquiry, which I think is a stain. We went through that post office thing. We haven't even started talking about the infected blood scandal. I don't know. Maybe it's just part of getting old, but you start to reflect and you think, where did we lose our way? I mean, that woman yesterday, it is a question for you as a journalist, right? So she's up there talking about field duty, saying that she'll campaign for Andy Burnham, yeah?
Yeah.
As David Lammy said.
Yeah.
So and Lisa Nandy said. They're all going to go and campaign for a man who wants to take their boss's job.
Yeah, their
collective responsibility.
Their line will be, oh, we want, you know, the best players on the pitch. We want to see Andy Burnham return to Parliament. However, the knock-on effect of that is, come what, June the 18th, June the 19th, he's going to be, you know, collecting as many names as he can from Labour MPs to try and get through the number 10 as quickly as possible. That's
there
the
is
reality.
a scenario, as you said, that this is such a seminal moment, that he could lose this.
Yeah.
His political career's finished, and Starmer would beat Wes Streeting. He would beat him.
That is the thing, and I think that's when it throws open the whole contest. If Burnham loses, it's going to be Starmer. Well, I've got a mandate. I got the mandate 2 years ago. Wes Streeting, very, very keen, has already told the Prime Minister in person that he will stand against him. And then there'll be someone from, you know, the sort of leftish, soft left part of the party, Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, who might come forward. And it might well be that Keir Starmer comes through the middle, the vote is split, and he wins.
It's interesting for me, the Burnham thing, and again, this is not me in any way. I was very surprised last week that already they were coming for him. Not surprised, but that's what you want. That's what's going to happen. I want to go back with the EU. Last September, nailed on. Weekend, oh, I'm not so sure. The trans argument is done for. And then yesterday, you can't lose your rag that goddamn quick, mate. This is a 5-week campaign. And if I know one thing about the other parties, certainly Farage will be up there every day. The Liberal Democrats will campaign, the Tories will campaign 100%.
And I think that's where Andy Burnham's got an issue. He's almost fighting three fronts at the moment. He's going to be fighting one in the constituency. He's got his other eye on the Labour leadership. And then he's trying to project himself forward to be Prime Minister. So every single thing he says, whether it's the European Union, well, that might sit well locally. It might sit well within the party.
It's not sitting well locally, is it?
Exactly. Some people in the Labour Party. But it's not going to do particularly well in the rest of the country as well. So he's got a real fine balancing act, and it might see him come undone.
It's interesting, isn't it? Angela Johnson says, it looks like today Bridget Phillipson will finally announce that trans women will not be allowed in women-only spaces. How convenient that after sitting on the Supreme Court's decision for a year, she's making this announcement as Burnham is coming under scrutiny for his previous comments on this. They're all like... This is the other thing. I said Streeting... I don't care what anybody said, brought up the EU thing deliberately to stick one into Burnham. And here's the other thing. Here's the irony of everything, right? They're all scrabbling around, scoring points, trying to get in. This is the first election in British history, a by-election, where the Prime Minister, with a massive majority, his party's candidate, in a local by-election, he wants Reform to win. Starmer wants Reform to win.
Well, the thing is, it might
just
unbelievable. You might also see Sir Keir Starmer going up there every other week to.
I think he'd do that to put the boot in.
Exactly.
But it's fascinating.
The other thing is just on the cabinet ministers putting out all these announcements out over this in the next coming weeks. A lot of it will be legacy building. This will be the last chance that a lot of them will be in cabinet. A lot of the time, and we've got in a lot of trouble over this with Theresa May. And a lot of people hit back on net zero when she signed that into law in the last few weeks of her premiership. You could see other decisions being rushed out the door and probably rushed out a bit too quickly.
I want to ask you loads of questions. Does Andy Burnham win Makerfield in your political opinion?
I think he just gets over the line, lowish turnout maybe, and he wins by maybe a few thousand.
A few thousand.
But not by, like, massive.
What's there, 76,000 in the constituency?
Yeah. Normally by-elections a lot less than a general election. It'd be interesting though, because of all the enthusiasm and all the coverage, it might push it up slightly.
Lots of coverage and lots of big names, I imagine, from all parties going up there.
Yeah, traditionally it's a bit lower.
If he wins, does he defeat Keir Starmer?
I don't think he needs to defeat Keir Starmer. I think if Andy Burnham gets back to Westminster, I think Keir Starmer sets out some kind of timetable where he walks away.
So he doesn't look like he's lost?
Yeah.
Despite the fact he says he'll fight on?
Yeah, I just can't see a situation. He's had pretty much every single cabinet minister, or lots of cabinet ministers, go in there and say that you need to set out, how you're going to leave. There'll be maybe a summer sort of farewell tour, and then...
A summer farewell tour? Where's that going?
He might go to some, if there's any overseas...
He's not coming here, is he, to be honest?
If there's some overseas, summits or something, he might put himself on the world stage. He might try and do something on, on Ukraine or the Iran war. that kind of thing, just to sort of set up his.
Will Andy Burnham be the next Prime Minister?
I think, I think it's difficult not to see how that plays out.
How do you feel? Like, I feel really very strongly about this, and it's not political in terms of a particular party. I don't think any MP that defects should be able to stand without an election. I said that to Jenrick's face.
Yeah.
I said that to Braverman's face. I said that to that Christian guy before Wakefield, right? But I definitely don't think that a person, because I do think the mandate, they'll say it's Labour, but I do think it's in part Starmer. Doesn't mean I have to agree with him. Is it fair to win a by-election of 76,000 people and those people decide who the next Prime Minister is? It's outrageous.
The only defence for him, for Andy Burnham, is if he sticks very, very rigidly to what Labour put forward at the last election.
But he's standing on a campaign of change because he doesn't like Starmer.
Yeah. If he sticks within sort of the financial rules and what have you, he could just about get away with it. But if he starts veering off to, to the left, I think he gets into real difficulty. And I think there'll be calls anyway for a general election. The moment he sets foot in Downing Street, the Conservatives reform will be calling for that.
Is he, and I don't know the man, I've never interviewed him, I'm just going on what I've seen and heard. Is he up to it?
Well, I think there's going to be a massive. I think he'll notice a massive difference between Mayor of Manchester and coming. There's a huge difference, and he talks about things like the buses back into sort of public ownership up in the northwest. There's a big difference between then doing lots of other things, whether it's water, energy, bringing that under public control. So I
think he's a lightweight.
Well,
and I never thought that I'd say that, and I'm being completely honest. I've been supremely critical of Starmer and will continue to be, but when I saw that interview, when he was asked by the guy at ITV, and he went, politics is difficult, and will you have Keir Starmer campaigning? Well, everybody's welcome, really. And I was expecting a bit more. I was expecting more of a conviction politician, somebody with a bit more oomph. That's me being honest.
He definitely seems a lot more relaxed, and I think that might be a bit more of a sort of relatable... Sort of
relaxed or out of his depth already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Let's see what his policy programme is, and say given the benefit of the doubt, I'm not sure how far that will go.
Fascinating.
But, it is. It totally is. Yeah, and we could be. Look, that by-election is on June the 18th. There could be some sort of transition at late June, early July, if we're on that fast track.
You're a man. We can't wait to involve you as we head these 5 weeks. Thank you, Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. Top man. We'll say good morning to John. Morning, John.
John here from Maidstone. I've got a bit of a bleeper for you. Rachel Reeves and her band of thieves went to a petrol station. A man came by, no word of a lie. He said, "You're ruining the nation."
Brilliant.
It's a nutty canister, either way. I mean, look at the nut on it.
Bob Odenkirk!
Saul was great. He was just a breath of fresh air.
Amelia Clark! Star Wars versus Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, definitely. I'm loyal.
Don't tell Alex Hassel!
In season 2, a lot of us get our clothes off.
You do know you did that in season 1.
Exactly, that's true, yes.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, almost 10 o'clock, and a very good morning to the one and only Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Very
How
good
are you?
morning, nice to see you, sir. Good to have you back in the hot seat. Yeah, lots to talk about. Rachel Reeves, I know you've been talking about it all morning. Always people go, it's outrageous, someone to shout at her. She had plenty of people around her. She's in a public place. She's a darn useless chancellor. A white van man is there being hit by her policies. He's got every right to shout his comments, and he's quite right to ask, is he going to be arrested for his England flags? I'm on his side every time.
Completely. Do you know she didn't have the intelligence to just go, well, you won't be voting for me, just make a joke about it. All right, you won't get... But
it's
no,
very un-British.
Very un-British. What is British? Why does everybody in the Labour Party sound like an android?
Why do all the people who have no idea what it means to be British, who hate this country, why do they keep telling the rest of us what it means to be British? Yeah, it's utterly bizarre. And this embarrassment of a giveaway. Yeah, 5p fuel duty free is lovely. Yeah, but only till December.
Yeah.
Only till